for Jonathan Taylor. There he goes again. 50, 40, down the far sideline. He might do it again. 10, 5, touchdown. INDY.
Eastern Conference Championship has been captured by the Indiana Pacers.
Alex Pillow wins the 109th Indianapolis 500.
This is the Fan Morning Show with KB, JB, and Jeff.
Good morning and welcome into a Monday as March Madness is, well, we're in the middle of it. The NCAA tournament is here. We have the field of 68. Purdue plays themselves right up the ladder into a number 2 seed. Looked tremendous against Michigan yesterday. And good morning, James Boyd. It's high school basketball going to semi-state. This is going to be a lot of fun over the next week or so. And Kevin Bowen, I know you're in heaven. You got March Madness. You had great golf again yesterday. You got, what do we say about the Pacers? What is there to say except it is what it is, right?
Yeah, they look to be positioning themselves quite well, at least for the best lottery odds there. So
I must say, every time you hold it, and there's just something about the cleanness of the bracket.
You all right?
Kevin, I thought about you.
We ain't having a fourth, but I would imagine this is the feeling that it is like right here.
I thought about you. I saw I think it was a TikTok or Instagram reel where the mother of like this young kid, this young boy, had put the bracket up on the wall in their house. Like in like the dining room or whatever. So she had the big basically like what you see when the teams win in advance, they put the different things, and she had created one for her son.
Mom of the Year. Right. That is epic. Gosh, Maddie Bowen, can we please do that?
I don't know. You might be outnumbered on that one.
That's beautiful. Oh, I love it. Wow, there's something about this bracket. It looks pretty darn clean. And, yeah, Jeff, to your point, I don't think on Friday we thought Purdue would be on the 2 line. I mean, what a performance, what a week. Not only do you win the Big Ten tourney title, but I thought they did it in some very important ways. Defense, Fletcher Lawyer stepping up. Oscar Clough, frankly, I thought he should have been most outstanding player of the tournament. I thought it was a little
I demand a recount.
Peyton Manning, Dominique Rhodes, Super Bowl MVP from 06. But
history can't say that he didn't win this.
Damn impressive by the Boilers there, up there in Chicago. Now they'll go a day off, and it'll be out to St. Louis. They got Queens. Jeff, you probably are familiar with Queens, right? A little Charlotte action?
Yeah, Queens, I've not seen this particular team play because I've been here a lot, but they've been an improving basketball program. They obviously earned their way into the NCAA tournament like anybody. They're kids that expect to win. I mean, that's the kind of the thing when you get to the NCAA tournament, whether you're a smaller school or a big school or one of the Power 4 schools, you feel good about yourself. You've gotten there because you win a lot of games. You win close games. You just figure it out, and so everybody thinks they have a chance to win. But if they lose to Queens, that's going to be a tough look.
We got Queens coach Grant Leonard on tomorrow at 9. I had no idea until this weekend that Queens was in Charlotte, not in New York.
That's how I felt about Oakland University until a few years ago.
Yeah.
So you went to Detroit, and there it was?
No, this actually happened for real. We had a kid that I covered. I think he played baseball for them, or he committed to play baseball for them. And he's from the region, and I was asking about the schools. Oh, you getting ready for the weather and all that? And he's like, you didn't do much research on this. So I have learned throughout the years that to always Google the university to make sure it's where it's supposed to be, or if it's not, you know, so you don't ask any dumb questions.
I don't know if Kevin Bowen was giving us a little Easter egg there in his description of a brand new, clean bracket, but in accordance with that, have you noticed that the playoff beard has gone?
Yeah, I almost screamed when I saw him.
Yeah, that was really heinous. I apologize for what it was getting to there. You could have, hell, COVID might have started inside of that beard that I was rocking there for the last couple of weeks there. So apologies on that. Clean shaven. I look as clean as this bracket right now. Mark Dykton, that Hammond Bears shirt looks excellent on you.
Well, we got some rain, some snow in the forecast. I was like, I need to bundle up. I need something nice and cozy. So I was like, what better than this Hammond Bears sweatshirt? Keep me nice and toasty this morning.
There you go. I'm just curious, did the beard arise out of just, look, you got a little one at home you're staying up late with and making sure she can sleep. You got all kinds of free agency news and signings and everything else with the Colts and keeping an eye on the NFL, and then you're staying up late to watch college basketball. Then you are force-fed whatever this NBA Pacers nonsense is. Well, I get it. Again, I get it. But it's like eating your vegetables. You know it's good for you, but I don't want to eat it. I don't like watching this thing in the fourth quarter where you're actually playing a pretty good game against a pretty good team, and we'll just sit everybody down in the fourth quarter. I get it. I understand. It's what they're doing. They've lost 13 in a row. Why should I pay attention anymore in the fourth quarter? Like once I see that they're not even playing their guys, why do we move on? I don't get it. I mean, I do get it, but I'm not spending a lot of my time watching the Pacers the rest of the year. I'll tell you that.
Did you want the real answer on why the beard grew?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, we moved buildings a few months ago, and my razor is still in the duffel bag of the locker room of the old building that I'm now locked out of.
So you don't have a razor at home?
No, and I'm too lazy to go buy one until this weekend.
Is that a real statement?
Yes.
Wow.
You stored stuff in the lockers down there?
Yeah. A nice Emmis double.
Hey, Mark. I mean, did you work with all thieves at Emmis?
Well, no, but I've been in that
What do
locker
you want me
room,
to
and
do,
it just seems
lay
like
it bare?
days
Oh,
of
you're
yore.
right.
It's a
Good
nice
Lord.
Emmis duffel bag that I have.
All you need to know about the state of that locker room came through in Mark's expression of it right there.
Well, I'm just shocked that someone
Dang.
actually stored stuff in there because I
So
just
both of y'all
assumed.
got robbed, huh?
No, it's not about that.
Man, a
It's
little,
just,
little green here this morning.
I just don't know that I would want to put a lot of my
Man.
stuff in there. That's all, because it's, I don't know, it's organic. Let's put it that way, Mark. Is that a better word for it?
I would say it just looks like an archived, days of yore locker room where it's like, I don't know if anyone's storing anything in there because I just didn't think anyone that was going in there was leaving stuff behind.
Wow,
So you just grab it
judgment
and
here
go.
this morning.
Yeah.
Did you go in the
Kevin,
sauna too?
sorry for using a locker to lock your things up.
I'm going to go with
Makes no sense.
the no comment just in case we have some listeners from the old,
Well, no,
building
I
there.
like the gym and everything
tuning
like
in.
that. The sauna, very nice. And I've showered there before. I just never stored anything. I know anyone did. Never saw any padlocks.
Wow. What a thief you are, Mark.
I would imagine there are things in a couple of those lockers that have been there for a long time.
Something a thief would say.
Things about as empty as Colts free agency so far.
Yeah, I had a pretty quiet weekend on that front.
Say, James,
Did anything happen?
Friday at 5 was the big flurry there, but Mo Cox, was that it once the weekend officially started?
Yeah, if you want to count him as a starter, I guess.
Well, yeah.
You got Simone Biles coming to town. What are you talking about?
Right. I guess that is the highlight. So, yeah, as we sit here on this Monday morning, it is once again very, very quiet on the Colts front. Yeah, I'm scratching my head continually. Granted, I think around the NFL it was pretty quiet, but now I tend to think that's how it's going to be. We're into the second wave. And, outside of a deal or two here or there, I don't think you're going to get a whole lot of action by any means. And I would say that around the league, not just with the Colts.
Anybody pay attention to the World Baseball Classic last night with the United States getting a win over the Dominican Republic?
I love just, first off, the crowd. I mean, it was pretty darn pro-Dominican hearing some of those cheers throughout the early parts of that game. I thought it was some great theater, great energy, and I thought the U.S. got a very favorable, I was about to say whistle. Shows you I've watched a lot of basketball. A couple favorable ball strike calls there down the stretch.
Oh, especially that last one.
The last one, the one in the eighth, was it Soto? I'm trying to think who was at bat there. That one as well, but survive in advance. Great work by the bullpen, 2-1 there, and now they will await Venezuela and Italy coming up. Title game is Tuesday at 8.
Yep, Venezuela, Italy tonight, and then the winner of that takes on the United States, as Kevin said, tomorrow night at 8. So we look forward to that. I just found myself, I guess as most would at this point in time in our field, just watching a lot of college basketball this past weekend.
Yeah, there were some great performances over the weekend for sure. Shout out to Purdue and Braden Smith, number 41. That jersey is unique now, I guess, in Purdue lore after he ripped his jersey in the first half there. And then looking at what the guard at Arkansas is doing, Darius Acuff Jr., boy, is he not a top 5 pick? I mean, that kid puts up, it seems like every big game he just comes to play. Another 30 points and 10-plus assists for him to lead Arkansas to an SEC title. So we're definitely in March.
We are absolutely in March, and I'm just, we've talked about this being a really deep draft class, and the Pacers, of course, trying to desperately hold on to a top 4 pick at this point in time. There might be 6 or 7 really good players coming out of here, and the way things work change. You never know. Maybe that 6th or 7th is the guy that, for whatever reason, it translates to the next level, and you go, okay, here we go. I mean, that happens quite a bit. You'll see somebody that wasn't given all the love in that top 2 or 3, and maybe they're picked 7th, 8th, 9th, whatever, and they're the ones that end up having this long, distinguished NBA career. That does happen.
Yeah, but that would not help the Pacers. So for your sake, you hope that you get one of the top 4, and you hope that one of those top 4 hit. 5 through 9, boy, that'd be quite the gut punch.
You guys have a favorite part of the bracket to look at, to gander at here on this Monday morning?
Not necessarily. Give me your take on it. Where do your eyes go first, KB?
Well, my eyes are drawn to that East region. If I'm looking right here, that would be top left. Duke, the number 1 overall seed. I actually thought that would have been the best one for Purdue to draw. I don't, if I can nitpick Purdue's draw a little bit here, and again, I am, but like Elite 8, Arizona out west, I feel like there were some other 1 seeds you probably would have preferred to see. But nonetheless, I understand that's a big-time nitpick there. But look at the coaches in that region. Rick Pitino, Bill Self, Dan Hurley, Tom Izzo. You got some basketball coaches in one region there. And that is not including the 1 seed, which is, again, John Shire and Duke. Not bad there.
That's going to be a run to get there. UConn held on to their number 2 seed despite they got worked by St. John's. Did you check any of that game out?
Yeah, I did see that. And again, St. John's, what he's done at that program to make them relevant again is remarkable.
So is Indiana in if they would have beat Northwestern?
Maybe? I don't know.
I still think that the winner of that last game between Ohio State and Indiana was probably more important.
Oh, well, yeah, certainly on that for the Ohio State climbed all the way up to an 8 seed there. Indiana 4th out for those that were not watching the selection show, the 4th team out. We ended up having, a couple bid steals. Miami of Ohio, of course, in the play-in game. So they go to Dayton here coming up on Wednesday. St. Louis losing to Dayton. That was a crazy game on Saturday. Dayton and St. Louis, the end of that game. So yeah, had a couple of those bid stealings there. But for anyone that cares, which is probably very little, Indiana saying no to the NIT, the Crown, some of these other postseason tournaments that, in the Crown's case, has popped up here, I think mostly for NIL.
All right, we'll talk about all of it all morning long. We've got a busy Monday. The regular guests will be joining us as well. Talk a little Purdue at the end of the day. Did I see Rob Blackman's going to join us a little bit later on today, or is that a different list that I was looking at, Kevin?
That's the plan. He told me he was also dragging ass because he had a long weekend. So he's like,
why.
You can call me. I'll try to answer, but if I'm sleeping, don't take offense.
That's why I was double-checking. I thought, man, good job out of you. And then, man, good job out of Rob if he is able to overcome a lot of travel and getting up. So we've got that still ahead right here on 93.5, 107.5 The Fan.
The Morning Checkdown on 93.5 and 107.5 The Fan.
College basketball, March Madness is officially here. The NCAA tournament starts this week. It culminates with the Final Four, the first weekend of April, right here at Indianapolis over at Lucas Oil Stadium. Yesterday, Purdue climbing up to a 2 seed as they run the table as the 7 seed in the Big Ten tournament. Kevin Bowen, a 7 seed, has never won the Big Ten tournament before.
Quite impressive, to say the least. I thought, honestly, their best game of the tournament was, save for the 4th game in 4 days yesterday. They're just outstanding. Obviously, the quarterbacking of Braden Smith is well documented. I thought their bigs. I just thought Clough and Kaufman Ren finished through that Michigan size so much better than they did in the first matchup. And Fletcher Loyer shot it great all tournament long. And, again, I'll probably harp on this a lot today. I think how Purdue just won the Big Ten tournament. Yes, winning it is a great feat. But how they won it. They won it with their question marks. They won it with defense. They won it with Loyer and Clough. 2 guys that at times this season, people of whatever, feel like, yeah, there's been some inconsistencies. And honestly, they won it without Braden Smith, going off. Obviously, he was terrific as an assist guy, but didn't shoot it great. So that, to me, I think stands out even more.
How would you grade the jersey rip?
I loved it. Now, 41, Mark Dykton, correct me if I'm wrong here. My kids have told me that 41 is the new 6'7".
I've not heard that.
41.
Your kids are cooler than mine, I guess.
Max
They know the new
Max
lingo.
Bowen goes like this and does 41 every other day. And as soon as I saw Braden Smith with 41, I thought, just let me get hit by a semi now.
Well, I didn't think that.
That hasn't made its
I'm
way
glad
into
that
our
didn't
house
happen.
yet.
Well,
I said something similar the other day, and James is like, hey, don't do that.
You didn't say that, brother.
just warning you on that, Mark Dykton, when it eventually gets to West Side. But
I'll mentally prepare.
Braden Smith's got to rock that all tournament now, right?
Yeah, I think he does.
Go 41 forever?
Yeah.
They can put number 3 in the rafters because that's where it's probably going to go one day. And now just put 41 on him here.
Look, Kobe action, 2 numbers.
In the tournament, yeah.
Well, they beat Michigan 80-72 to win the title. Braden Smith, tournament MVP, set an all-time record for most assists in a tournament, and also has moved to within just 2 assists of passing Bobby Hurley for the all-time NCAA mark. Matt Painter, he was impressed.
His ability to pass and get the ball where it needs to be really helps us out. But just happy for him, man. Braden Smith's where all of our guys have, but he's worked really hard to be here.
He's worked very hard to be there, as has everybody else. That 2-man game in the second half, when they really started to take control between he and Trey Kaufman Ren, that was art. They just kept going 2-man to Michigan to death during that stretch.
Yeah, I thought they really took advantage of Michigan. And honestly, with the way Michigan has defended all year, that was pretty impressive, especially considering you didn't shoot all that great from the outside. So I think Purdue showed some backbone that we weren't all sure was there a week ago. So quite a turnaround heading into, obviously, your biggest part of the season.
West Region is where they are headed in St. Louis. They will take on Queens of Charlotte Friday at 7:35. Again, that'll be in St. Louis. Your overall number 1 seeds. Duke, Arizona, those guys were number 1 seeds. And then I didn't think it was a lot of drama, right? Florida and Michigan, the other 2 number 1 seeds.
No, I mean, honestly, the bracket as a whole, I mean, I don't really know any debate that people had. I think, relatively quiet, which is kind of shocking. Usually, somebody's bitching and moaning about something there. But, obviously a weak bubble. Again, you had a couple bid steals. Miami of Ohio, they are a 7.5-point underdog against SMU. They will be in the play-in game coming up. That is Wednesday. That'll be the second game of the play-in game. They have SMU. So NC State, Texas in one play-in, SMU, Miami. And if you're going to play it out by seed for Purdue, you're looking at Queens, Miami, Gonzaga, Arizona to get to Indy. Now, again, that San Jose is the region, so Gonzaga and Arizona would be out there. I will note the 6th seed is A.J. DeBanson and BYU. So that is kind of intriguing to me, obviously, on multiple levels here. If, the Pacers are looking at their draft, but if A.J. DeBanson can do what he did in the Big 12 tournament there and they all of a sudden beat Gonzaga in round 2 and Purdue is able to come out of the St. Louis region, if you will. You could be looking at Purdue against AJ DeBanza for a trip to go to the Elite Eight.
Yeah, and that BYU Gonzaga game in the second round, if they both win their first game, that could be a must-watch game too. That'd be a lot of fun. So that's what's happening there. As far as the women, the number 1 seeds, UConn, South Carolina, UCLA, and Texas. James, help me out if there's any local kids that are really making strides for the women's game, but devoid of a lot of local flavor there for the women's tournament right now.
Come on now. Come
I
on
was
now.
going to say, I'll let Kevin
Come on
chime
now.
in there.
Let's head up US 31.
Give it up.
The Irish. A lot of slander from Jeff Rickard when Notre Dame starts to do well here. The only
I left it for you to
state
tell
school
us.
in the women's tournament here.
I
6
left
seed. They
it
got
for you to tell
Fairfield
us.
round 1. They win. They'll get Ohio State. Hannah Hidalgo trying to take the Irish on a little bit of a run here.
Is Hannah Hidalgo the best player? I know everybody gets a lot of love, especially for UConn and some of the other folks, but she's got to be, if not, one of the top 2 players in the nation, right? I think she's top.
I would think so.
I almost broke my rule and said nice things about Notre Dame there, James. I got to watch myself now. Get ahead of myself sometimes.
Hey, Hannah will do that. She's that good.
All right, high school basketball, a terrific weekend. Did you were you able to attend any of the games this weekend?
That's like asking if I'm like waking up here with some melanin in the skin. Of course, it was an amazing weekend at Southport. I enjoyed myself. 2 great games. The first one, Luke Ertl and Mount Vernon beat Pike in their loaded team with a bunch of Division I talent. And he scored 34 points, I believe 8 points in overtime to lift his team into the semi-state for the second straight year. And then in the second game, you had Decatur Central knock off Lawrence Central. They won their first regional title in school history. And one last thing, shout out to my guy Jack. I believe he's in the Lawrence Central school system. I'm sitting at some Mexican restaurant called Red Tacos near Southport in between games. And this kid walks up to me, has the biggest Lawrence Central jersey on I've ever seen. And he says, "Are you James Boyd?" I'm like, "Yes." He's like, "Let's see you every morning on the way to school." So
Let's go.
Shout out to Jack, man.
Nice. Hello, Jack. Congratulations, by the way, Cathedral knocking off Brebeuf Jesuit with a last-second bucket, 69-67.
Yeah,
that was a terrific game.
Yeah, Keaton Aldridge, that play, I don't know where it was really going there, but he flipped one up there, and they were able to beat Brebeuf and really had a big lead there early stretches of that game. And shout out to John Ashworth. Speaking of Decatur Central, always enjoy his insights. I saw that he had this note that Kyle Nenrip tweeted. We have no MIC school or no Hoosier Crossroads Conference school left in the tournament, which is pretty wild. I mean, we're down to 8. Remember, in the semi-state round, we're going to play 2 games coming up on Saturday here. No MIC, no Hoosier Conference. Like, if you look at the 4A and even a little bit of the 3A, but certainly the 4A, it's a lot of schools I don't think we're really used to seeing get to this point in the tournament there. So a little bit of a, I don't know if Cinderella flair is the right way to put it, but certainly schools that, haven't been there in a while.
Yeah, we'll document some of those games coming up this weekend a little bit later on in the show. IndyCar yesterday, they were in Arlington. The Grand Prix of Arlington, Kyle Kirkwood overcame a pair of tough pit stops and passed Alex Below in the final laps to get the win. They will go to Alabama at Barber Motorsports Park on March 29th for the next race. And for the Indianapolis Colts, after that Friday announcement of re-signing Mo Alley Cox, it was
not a lot of movement, I would say. They did sign a couple safeties. Jonathan Owens, who is famously the husband of Simone Biles, comes over from the Bears. More of a special teams guy. And then Wanye Thomas comes over from, I believe, the Dallas Cowboys. He, I think, actually has more potential to possibly start at the other safety spot now that Nick Cross is gone, but only played 7 games last year due to migraines.
Ooh.
Checked into that a little bit. The Colts feel pretty good about where his health is now, but something to keep in mind.
All right. Also, World Baseball Classic last night. United States got out to a 2-1 lead in the early innings. That's how it ended, 2-1 over the Dominican Republic, although the DR did put guys on base a couple of times and make it interesting. They will now play the winner of Italy-Venezuela, which takes place tonight, and the championship game for the 2026 World Baseball Classic will be tomorrow night. How about PGA? Pretty good thing yesterday, right, at the very end? A come-from-behind win?
Yeah, I'll be honest. I was not watching. I was locked into Selection Sunday and certainly was watching Purdue and Michigan. But, yeah, Cameron Young getting it done there in the Players' Championship there. Sounded like a lot of carnage with Ludovic Aubert and even Matt Fitzpatrick a little bit there. So we inch closer to the Masters there. So shout out to Cameron Young.
All right. Also, one last note, too. The women's Team USA continues their run through the World Cup qualifier in Puerto Rico. really haven't been challenged at all at this point in time. Remember, they've already qualified before they even got there, but they are going through the motions. They win 101-46. Caitlin Clark started for the first time in this tournament last night, 14 points and 6 assists. She looks pretty healthy and ready to play basketball, James.
Be excited to see her get back in action, and man, just don't forget who the needle mover is.
She looks healthy, but I'm a little nervous if this league is going to start on time.
Maybe not on time, but they will have a season. I can tell you that for sure.
All right. Coming up in a moment, we'll talk a little bit more about Purdue making it all the way to the 2-seed line after running through the Big Ten tournament, and more on the Colts and what they did do. And we'll get Kevin and James to expand a little bit more about the signings that they did make over the past few days. That's coming up next. It's 93.5 and 107.5 The Fan.
Indeed, they are the gold standard when it comes to hair restoration, and they are ready to help us out today. Online, very simple, wegrowhairindy.com. That would be the Northwest Side, building number 2 at the Pyramids. Again, they're the best in the business. They just happen to call the 317 home if you've ever had questions, curiosity about anything from a hair restoration standpoint. You contact them today. I actually saw that some people are heading over to Europe to get hair restoration, regenerative treatments, and whatever. It's cheaper over there, et cetera, but some of the experiences sound not good at all. If you're going to do it, you want the best in the business, period. And the results speak for themselves. So contact We Grow Hair Indy today. Again, Northwest Side. That would be the Pyramids, building number 2, free evaluation, private evaluation, virtual evaluation. All of that is available to you. The gold standard for hair restoration, We Grow Hair Indy.
listening to the Fan Morning Show on Sports Radio 93.5 and 107.5 The Fan.
Hope y'all had a terrific weekend. By the way, want to say happy birthday, 18th birthday to my oldest son, Jake. As I mentioned last week, he was born on Selection Sunday. And even though he's not a big, huge college basketball fan, he's like, Dad, let's watch the selection show for a few minutes. He made it through about the first region or so, and then he had to go play some games and stuff. But we were good.
Shout out
Full
to
circle.
Jake.
Happy birthday, buddy.
We'll be going out tonight, brother.
Belated happy birthday to Ryan Bowen, if I can throw that
nice.
in there.
Absolutely.
So over the weekend, we celebrated with my brother. So happy birthday to a great, great human. And Notre Dame basketball will get back to where they belong.
There we go.
You didn't sound. You didn't have any conviction in that, man.
That was pretty weak right there.
Notre Dame basketball will get back to where they belong. Come on.
There we go.
Micah, and when Micah Shrewsbury next walks without that little go-kart, that little scooter, they will be a top 20 team, Kevin. Let's go.
I thought the scooter was going to Ron Hunter magic it a little bit.
No,
That's one of my favorite
no.
March memories. RJ Hunter hitting the three, Ron falling off.
Isn't RJ like a high school basketball alum
Has
from
to
the
get-
state of Indiana?
Oh, yeah, Pike. Has
there
to
we
get,
go.
help back up to the scooter there. Just an epic, epic moment.
So Purdue, wow. It almost felt like they were getting better and better with every game. Did they get their juju back, their swag? Did they get it back this past week?
Juju Shimmer reference for Chris Ballard there. For their sake, let's hope that doesn't trend in the direction that his tenure has happened. But yes, they did look, I think, like the best version of themselves all year. And the most impressive part was, I think, defensively, what they were able to do to Michigan, because we've talked about it all year where their defense just hasn't been up to par. But that, to me, is what you can win with. And Braden talked about that after the game, where it's like, look, man, even if I haven't shot the ball very well, we got to find other ways to just get a win. And what I love about this part of the year is that the style points don't matter anymore. Just get it done.
Yeah, I think it was to kind of further that defensive point there. You can go back to really the Nebraska game on Friday. I want to say Nebraska, I believe it was their third lowest point total all season long. UCLA, I think it was their fifth lowest. And then Michigan, as weird as it sounds, Michigan scores like none other, that was their sixth lowest. So, I mean, you're talking about teams that have played, 30-some games at this point in the season, and Purdue is holding them to, third, fifth, and sixth lowest? I mean, at times during the regular season, these teams are having program records set against Purdue when they played them. So, yeah, I think, again, to reiterate that point, it's just how they won the tournament. Fletcher Loyer, I thought, was really good throughout the entire stretch there, and I thought Clough was tremendous. I thought they should have gone, at the very least, most outstanding players between. I get when Braden Smith sets the tournament record for assists, it's probably hard not to give it to him, but that felt a little Peyton Manning super bully to me.
No co.
I thought Oscar Clough deserved it.
Should have just gave it to Clough. I don't believe in anything. I'm still mad that Peyton Manning has a MVP.
People were comparing my beard to Clough's beard, so unfortunately I don't have the dual left hand that Oscar Clough has. He's so good with his left.
How long does it take when the beard has become a beard like you had? How long does that take to get rid of it?
It was a process on Saturday to get rid of it. I actually did it during the Purdue UCLA game. I had Rosie give me score updates while I was shaving.
That's the appropriate use of a youngster right there.
No, I don't know. We got to check in with these child labor laws.
We're going to be talking to Isaac Troder from CBS Sports. He's a basketball analyst coming up top of the hour. He says that Arizona has the easiest path to the Final Four by saying they do not have one team in its region that is outstanding on both sides of the floor. And what he says about Purdue, he says number 2 seed Purdue is the number 1 offense in the country, but while the defense has shown a bit more grit, there are still real holes here. Arizona's positional size and athleticism will be extremely obvious if this matchup presents itself down the line.
Look at Kevin. He's already analyzing.
He's looking at
what
it, man.
Isaac is saying and looking at the bracket again.
Yeah, I mean, we talked Friday, right? Didn't we ask the question of what 1 seed would you most want to play if you were Purdue? Because I think all these 1 seeds have really been up there for the last couple of weeks. We've kind of known this is going to be the group. Jeff, I think you and I were on the Duke thought there, just a little banged up. Again, a lot of guys that haven't necessarily been there before. Yeah, I mean, Arizona would worry me, but there is part of me that's like, hey, at that point, you're 40 minutes away from coming to Indianapolis. and that.
Yeah, you got to face somebody. At some point.
I mean, welcome to the NCAA tournament, and again, crazy things happen in this tournament there. So I don't know if you look at if you look at the top part of that, Arkansas, Wisconsin are the 4 and the 5 in Purdue's region. Like I think that is a great second round matchup if indeed it happens. Wisconsin, Arkansas. I mean, James brought up Darius Haycuff earlier.
Whew.
I mean, Wisconsin with Nick Boyd and John Blackwell and what they have from a big guy standpoint. I mean, Wisconsin easily could have been in the Big Ten title game on Sunday. I mean, that was a great finish with the Axel hitting the 3 there to send Michigan to the title game. So, yeah, again, it's probably a good problem to have. We weren't necessarily discussing this. I think a lot of people affiliated with Purdue, the debate more would have been like, are you going to get to the second weekend? And now it's like, all right, did they get the best 1 seed? Obviously traveling out west isn't ideal, but we'll see if they can get it done.
Well, they start fairly close to home in St. Louis, so I'd imagine there'll be a pretty big crowd of Boilermaker fans there when they get going Friday night at 7:35. So that's what's going on as far as their draw is concerned. But you mentioned Duke just a moment ago. Talk about reloading and getting it done. They lost their starting 5 last year to the NBA. They're the number 1 overall seed, James, despite the fact that they went through the ACC tournament without 2 of their starting 5 this year. And they still won the tournament. That's a really good basketball team.
Yeah, Duke being good is not a surprise to anyone, but the Boozer twins, I think, are really playing well. And actually, it was the other Boozer that played well, I believe, in the ACC championship, Caden Boozer. So, because Cam shot like 3 for 17 from the field, which I thought was almost impossible for a guy who shoots usually around the basket. But even in his bad game, he still had like 8 assists and 8 rebounds. So it speaks to the level of that program and the level of the players they have.
Yeah, and you go back to Purdue and their run through the Big Ten, and they got out to that almost double-digit lead, 8, 10, 12 points at times, especially early in the second half. And I think Michigan cut it to within 5 at one point in time, if I'm not mistaken. Just thinking off the top of my head, and then Purdue just bounced right back. And at no point in the final 3 minutes did I feel like Michigan was going to overcome.
I think the stat was Purdue led, 160 minutes they played across those 4 games, of course. I think they led for 152 of them. I mean, it's damn impressive what they just did there to obviously cut down the nets. So, hell of an accomplishment for that crew. And now you have the chance to write the final chapter in what is already an unbelievable story here in our state's very rich basketball history. So
I know you wrote about that on social media, Kevin, and kind of putting it out there like all in totality. I was like, man, they have done a lot of winning.
Yeah, I mean, when you think about it, they've won 2 Big Ten regular season titles, which even Matt Painter said after the game, that's the real thing. He did mention, he goes, Michigan is the Big Ten champion, but we are the Big Ten tournament champion. So
semantics.
Painter always points that out of 20 games means more than just 3 or 4. But you've won 2 Big Ten regular season titles. You've won 2 Big Ten tournament titles. They've won 7 NCAA tournament games, and now we'll see what they can do. I mean, it's absolutely incredible what that senior class has done. And, can you imagine if they get all the way here? And, hey, Mark, I don't know if today we'll play it, but Braden Smith had some audio, kind of describing the elephant in the room of, like, we know what's the last thing that we need to check. Yeah. And he has not run from that when asked about it. I think it's a good thing he's now going to get this assist record Friday night. Like, I don't know if it's affecting his play from a shooting standpoint at all.
Yeah.
But I think it's just smart, like, all right, beat Queens by 20, get the assist record, and then just kind of move into the rest of the tournament there.
You heard that, Queens? He's already counting you out.
Yeah, we do have Queens coach on tomorrow. Hopefully you guys don't bring that up when he joins us at
I would never do that to you.
9 o'clock tomorrow.
First question.
Yeah, you wouldn't do that to anybody, would you?
Second round matchup here for Purdue. They could be seeing former Indiana legend Malik Renew.
I did see
for the
that.
Miami Hurricanes, right?
Kevin, I was chilling last night, and I'm in a group text with a few other Colts writers, and Joel texts the group and says, Steven, I hate your team, and I hope they die. And I was like, oh, it's pretty aggressive. But I'll have you know.
Is that a Missouri-Miami?
Yes,
right
there you go. Joel is a Mizzou alum, and then you have the U, which is the school of Stephen Holder. So got a little friendly rivalry going on there.
By the way, same people that were yelling at me how disrespectful it was that Notre Dame turned down a bowl bid? Are those the same people that are yelling about Indiana turning down a NIT bid?
You have to ask those folks.
Possibly. I mean, I actually agree with like the outrage is always whatever. But do you think that these, like, how long is the NIT going to be there? Is it always going to be there just because? I mean, are you going to even ask certain teams anymore? Because it seems like any school in like a Power 4 conference or whatever is not going to go because they already have to get into the transfer portal and worry about their roster manager for next season.
That CBI tournament's already gone on pause and hiatus for this year. I don't know if that's ever coming back. That was kind of the one underneath the NIT too. So it's in this day and age of NIL that there's a lot of kids. They don't have enough. A lot of these programs don't have enough players to play once their regular season is over.
I hate it, but I understand why teams just don't do it. Because if you waste another week and a half playing games, you could be wasting time trying to get your roster retooled.
Yeah, actually, I looked at the NIT bracket last night. There's actually a few more high majors than I would have thought.
Okay.
Like I would have, like Auburn said yes, for example.
I respect it.
They were a team that, obviously
Well,
dismissed
Bruce
it.
Pearl, you should be.
Yeah. So, I
you and your son should absolutely be going in that tournament.
I understand, obviously, Indiana has a slew of guys that are out of eligibility, but I don't know. Maybe this would be good for Trent Sisley to get 38 minutes a night here in the NIT.
All right, so Purdue headed to St. Louis for their first game in the West region. They'll be taking on Queens. It'll be Friday night at 7:35. We'll have lots more on that as the morning unfolds. But I ask both of you as we sit here today, it's the easiest question in the NFL. But we are now a full week past legal tampering, where you can sign guys coming up in the middle of the week last week, and now signing your own free agents and doing all kinds of things. Obviously, the big things the Colts had to do, they did. They got Daniel Jones, their guy. That's who they wanted. They re-signed him to a 2-year deal. They go get Alec Pierce. They get him to a 4-year deal. I ask both of you, and I'll start with you, Kevin Bowen. Are the Colts any better today than they were a week ago?
No, not at all. So that remains the question. And again, if you look at like the structuring of Daniel Jones's deal, you look at the structuring of Alec Pierce's deal, like clearly they have cap space. I firmly believe they wanted Trey Hendrickson pretty darn badly. So it's like, okay, were all your eggs in the Hendrickson basket? And then pivoting to something else was just not really going to happen. So, what on-field questions have been answered, like in terms of improvement? That's where I think they've really just kind of retooled their depth. I don't know if they've gotten better with their depth, but like defensive line, I just think it's kind of new bodies. I guess is probably the easiest way to put it. But if you look at their front seven right now, they have several big questions still to be answered there. So yeah, I mean that's an emphatic no. I no, there's nobody that can sit here and say right now the Colts are a better football team.
And offensively, they're down Michael Pittman Jr. That's the only real difference right now, isn't it?
Well, Braden Smith.
Well, yeah, okay, yeah. So there you go.
Yeah. Now, again, I think like, okay, Braden Smith, Jalen Travis, can you pass that torch a little bit there? I'm not saying it's going to be 1-for-1.
But we did see that coming, though.
Right. And I guess maybe that's probably where some of it comes. I just think defensively, like offense, okay, maybe they're down, whatever, half a letter grade. But defensively right now, it's like, wait a minute. Walk me through what these plans are. And when you look at the pass rushers that are available, honestly, James, the pass rusher list that's available, it looks like a list you would have read me in 2020.
Yeah.
Like Jeff has read these names off almost daily. It's like Jadeveon Clowney, Joey Bosa, Hassan Reddick, Cam Jordan. I'm like, what year are we in?
But again, that's what you're subject to when you don't make the splash in the big first wave. You don't make the trade, at least so far, for that starter. So you're left with flawed guys who have injury history or they're older or both. And if you're going to bet on a younger player, it's somebody who's probably unproven. So that's what you're left with. So I'm very curious to see how they address adding a starting caliber defensive end. That was the obvious takeaway, at least for me, from that first week of free agency when it comes to the Colts, because no, they're not a better team right now, and I'm not sure they're going to be going into 2026, all things considered, because I do have to kind of dock you on your quarterback a little bit because he's coming off an injury. He probably won't be the same, even if he's cleared to play by week 1. And then on top of that, to Jeff's point, yeah, you don't have one of your top receivers from last year. And I get that that was always a logical move to move on from him. But, again, where does that production come from? Sure, you can get more of it from Tyler Warren and perhaps from Josh Downs, but it's still a significant, I think, loss for your offense that you can't just gloss over. But to kind of put a button on it, I do trust them to figure out their offensive woes or maybe perhaps struggles that might arise a lot easier because of Shane Steichen, quite frankly, and what he's done with his offense over the last few years than defensively. Defensively, I'm just looking like, man, there's so many holes that you haven't addressed. Still need a starting linebacker or two. Still need a starting defensive end.
I'll say two.
And then I would say maybe you found your starting strong safety in Wanye Thomas. I know the Colts are pretty high on him and his potential, and he's shown some stuff a little bit on tape, but even then, he's a rather unproven player.
One other really not related note, but did you guys see the Christie's auction for Jim Irsay's memorabilia collection this past week?
That was a big price tag, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was like $400 million plus, I think.
$93,656,000 during the live auctions Thursday to Saturday.
Jeez.
They had estimated that the items would go for about $40 million. $93
million, not 40. Yeah, okay, that makes sense.
$93,656,000. That's a
So they
lot
made a
of
profit.
memorabilia right there, man.
Oof, boy.
That's a lot. I mean, we talked about some of the stuff that he had. The saddle used by Ron Turcotte when he rode Secretariat in the 73 Triple Crown. That was $1.5 million right there. That's the most ever paid for a horse racing item. Wayne Gretzky's jersey that he wore during his 500th NHL goal, that was almost $1 million. Ollie's fight robe from Ollie Liston 2. Stuff like, I mean, it was more than just guitars. This is an amazing collection.
Yeah, he was an eclectic man. Had a lot of different interests.
Is Sauce Gardner telling us something on Twitter at all?
I did see that. You want to fill in the listeners?
So Sauce had tweeted back in the Alec Pierce back and forth, James, something to the effect of like, should I lock Alec in my basement so he signs back? I'm paraphrasing, of course, there, but he had a tweet this weekend. He retweeted a tweet about Jonathan Gurnard, for those unfamiliar with him, with the Vikings currently rumored to be maybe a trade candidate, pretty accomplished, probably the best pass rusher if you want to throw him into the pool of the available free agents. The tweet said, whoever trades for Gurnard is getting a stud. Sauce Gardner retweeted it with a little Batman gif of, the hand on the chin there. Love a good pass rush. Is it time to open my basement back up? Hand on the chin emoji. Sauce Gardner knows something, Mark Dykton?
Maybe Sauce should be the general manager.
I don't know. I'm just curious if that's the case. I mean, when are the Colts selecting on the draft then?
Yeah, they would have. So what? Jonathan Gurnard is worth some sort of day 2 pick.
Yeah.
So you'd have one pick in the top 100.
Look,
Not ideal.
it wouldn't bother me.
That sounds like Chris Ballard's definition of hell.
Well, you gave a great description last week. Kind of been hell, so it's hell.
Oh yeah, there's no such thing as quarterback purgatory. If you're in quarterback purgatory, you're in hell. So yeah, we'll see if Sauce Gardner knows something there.
Like I said, maybe Sauce should be running the personal
There's
decisions.
probably a lot of Colts fans right now that would sign off on that wholeheartedly.
We'll see how it all plays out. We'll see how it goes. We'll see if they can get themselves any kind of pressure off the edge rather than going back to the collectively we think we can do it, James.
Latu.
A lot of pressure on
Third
him.
year for Mr. Latu. And I actually think, like, I have some intrigue about Latu, but I just think it's all the eggs are in his basket.
That's where we're at. Give us a shout on the fan text line at 239-1070. Coming up in a moment, we're going to talk NCAA tournament. What does it mean for Purdue to have played themselves up to a 2 seed? They'll be in the West region. We will talk to a man from CBS Sports, Isaac Troder, about that as we continue in a moment. Also, Rob Blackman, voice of the Purdue Boilermakers, hopefully going to be joining us in the 9 o'clock hour. We'll talk about just an unbelievable 4-game run to this Big Ten Conference tournament title in Chicago this past week. And man, was that fun to watch against Michigan yesterday. We'll do it all as we continue next. It's 93.5 and 107.5 The Fan.
indoor and outdoor concrete. It is Galaxy Concrete Coatings, garages, basements, patios, porches, and sidewalks. The best in the business, Galaxy Concrete Coatings. You head online, you're going to see the pictures and styles that they offer you. Again, indoor and outdoor, think garages, basements, patios, porches, sidewalks. So Galaxy Concrete Coatings specializes in manufacturers upgrade the warranty from 15 years to lifetime, and a very efficient process. We got new sidewalk, new front porch about probably 3.5 years ago at this point, and very efficient, 24 hours in and out. Tyler and Preston on site were outstanding. So those are some of the questions that I had. But again, I think you visit their website, you can see pretty clearly, okay, is this something that fits us residential-wise? Is this something that fits us workplace-wise? And then again, the installation and the manufacturing and the warranty is excellent. So that is Galaxy Concrete Coatings, indoor and outdoor concrete, garages, basements, patios, porches, sidewalks. Head to galaxyconcretecoatings.com today.
You're listening to the Fan Morning Show on Sports Radio 93.5 and 107.5 The Fan.
On to March. Well, we've been in March for a while, and Purdue certainly made it feel like March this past week as they run through the Big Ten tournament, earned themselves a 2 seed, and they will get going on Friday night over in St. Louis in the West region, where they'll be taking on Queens University, and we're looking forward to that. And really, that is your local, unless you count, and I think we do. I think we've counted Miami of Ohio with some local ties at the head coaching position. That's interesting for us, right, Kevin? We like that. But other than that, those are our two teams.
We're struggling for a lot of local connections.
All right, let's check the Payless Liquors hotline right now. We bring in Isaac Troder from CBS Sports, basketball analyst, and covers the sport and all things tournament. And he's kind enough to join us here on a Monday morning. It's Purdue or bust around here, man, but they did a nice job getting through the Big Ten tournament. So first of all, good morning, Isaac. Thanks for being here. Were you satiated this past weekend? Do you need a day or two to kind of take your breath in again?
No days off are allowed in these parts. So, yeah, I was here in Chicago for the Big Ten tournament, got to see Purdue up close for 3 or 4 days in a row, and it feels like they got their swagger back a little bit. Now, I wouldn't say that this is maybe a get-right tournament for them, but I just felt like they found more grit this past week, and they played really well against Nebraska. I thought they played really good against Northwestern for long stretches, found a way to win against UCLA, and then take care of business against Michigan, and kind of good vibes are kind of back in that locker room. And now they get a 2 seed. The draw is kind of good, I would say, for the most part. And now we go. So it's interesting. It feels like the long regular season, you could make a really good case that Purdue was a bit of a disappointment, but it feels like in March you can kind of erase all of those bad juju with a little run, and Purdue certainly started that here in Chicago this week.
Again, we're talking to Isaac Troder here on 107.5 The Fan. He covers college basketball for CBS Sports and 24/7 Sports as well. Also used to play basketball with him in college, and my chest still hurts from his post moves. So shout out to Isaac on that front. But Isaac,
Oscar Clough in the post.
Seriously, if you ever need a little physicality, hit up my boy Isaac. But jokes aside, my guy, when you look at what Purdue has done this season, I know you touched on a little bit there, but how much do you think this last run will not define Braden Smith's legacy, but perhaps shape the way we view it in the long term? Because we know they've done everything but get that final national championship. But just this run in general, how important do you think it would be to get back to the Final Four here in Indianapolis?
It would be a chance to put him down as an all-time great. I think that you could put him on that short list of the best Purdue players of all time if he can lead this group back to the Final Four one more time. And I think that the vibe around this team has been a little bit iffy for long stretches this year. And I think you've seen Purdue take some punches, and they lose 5 games at home, and kind of wondering how a senior-laden team with this much continuity, like why they can't get over the hump. But I do think that Braden has hung in there. And, he's 2 away, obviously, from breaking the all-time assist record, but he's just continued to hang in there and fight. And I think defensively, especially yesterday, I thought he played great defensively for long stretches. And that's not necessarily going to be a huge strength of his game, but they need that moving forward. And Queens in that first-round game, they got guards who can go. If they play Missouri or Miami in that second game, they got guards who can go. And I think Braden's ability defensively to play his best basketball is going to be huge. And obviously, I think he is one of the most special floor generals that we've ever seen, especially when you see him up close. The way he manipulates defenses is pretty uncanny. He will have his moment in the sun, I think, with obviously breaking the all-time assist record here in the next game or two. But I kind of feel like there's also a little bit more that he can bring as a scorer. And if he can put it all together here, when you got a point guard like that, you have a chance. And Purdue has a chance to make the Final Four because Braden Smith's on its basketball team.
Isaac, the answer to this is probably obvious, but if I gave you the 1 seeds or I gave you the field, who would you take to win it all?
The 1 seeds for sure. I think the data would back that up, that the 1 seeds are a little bit different this year than compared to the past. I think, if you kind of look at betting odds, the top 4 seeds, there's 12-point favorites or more for all of the top 4 seeds in every single game. So it's it feels like there's a big gap between the haves and the have-nots. And then there's another gap between the elites and the haves, right? Arizona is the year of it's the year of skilled size, honestly, in college basketball. Arizona's one of the biggest rosters in college basketball. Michigan's one of the biggest rosters. Duke has built an enormous team, and so has Florida. So those 4 teams are just so physical and so elite defensively, with very few guys that you can really pick at and go at defensively, that I feel like I have to go with them. I have Arizona winning this whole thing.
Yeah, they are certainly extremely skilled 1 through 5 there, and their big men are pretty impressive. Okay, how about a 4 seed or lower? If I kind of put the feet to the fire a little bit there and said a 4 seed or lower that you think could be an Indy, anybody stand out to you, albeit obviously a long shot?
It's definitely a long shot, but the way Wisconsin is playing right now is just different. Nick Boyd has a snarl about him that he just is not scared of anybody. And then you throw in John Blackwell, those 2 guards can really, really go. They gave Illinois 69 points this week at the Big Ten tournament, which was really impressive. And they came back the next day and just went right to war against Michigan. So I think Wisconsin's draw is pretty brutal. An Arkansas matchup in the round of 32 is tough. Arizona in the Sweet 16 is really tough as well. But that group can play at a very, very high level. And at the 5 spot, that's an interesting one. Another one I would look at is Vanderbilt. I think they're pretty brutally underseeded, and they're at the 5 line as well. And Tyler Tanner's been absolutely terrific so far this year. Probably pound for pound, one of the best athletes in college basketball. It sounds weird, but he's 6 feet, he's 180 pounds, and he just gets by everybody in the paint. Has a huge wingspan, just destroys people off the bounce. I think they could beat their first-round matchup of McNeese and Nebraska, and then they'd have a potential rematch against Florida in the Sweet 16, and they just destroyed Florida in the SEC tournament. So those are the 2 that I would potentially look at, but the more I look at this bracket, the more chalk I think it ever is, just because I do feel like the gap between the haves and the have-nots, as I was saying earlier, is pretty wide.
What's it look like for Miami of Ohio and getting in the play-in game, and that's awesome. And a lot of people were saying they didn't even deserve to get in because they didn't win their conference tournament, and even though they ran the table in the regular season, like, what do we really make of Miami of Ohio at this point?
I think it was a really good indicator that road wins are important. And I thought that Miami, Ohio, they weren't able to play any of those elite teams in non-conference play because no one wanted to play them. But they did a good job of just like stacking as many road games as possible, which helped their numbers, really boosted them up in wins above bubble, which is the new resume metric that the committee is using. And now we go. And I think it's an interesting conversation here, especially in that first four, because if you put like the most mediocre, like high major team on paper, it would probably look a lot like SMU. And I think we'll get to see a little bit of like what the gap is like between the most mediocre high major team and one of the best mid-major teams in college basketball in Miami, Ohio. And this is a group that they have great connectivity. They move the ball at an incredibly high level. Their assist rate, they do a good job of just passing it. They cut extremely well. I think Travis Steele has done a good job of modernizing his offenses. But I'm just kind of curious how this first matchup goes against SMU, because SMU definitely has more athleticism. They have good rim protection. They have guards that can really play in Boopy Miller. If BJ Edwards can play, that would be huge. And obviously, Jaron Pierre is, kind of a nightly 16 to 18 points per game scorer. But, it's Miami, Ohio is like, the beauty of them is like they're a team. Like they're not like this like 5-star here, 4-star recruit here, great transfer here. They're just a team. And I think that's the beauty of college basketball, that they've just gotten better and better and better as they've stayed together longer. And I'm just kind of curious if they can go toe-to-toe with a high major. Like they want their shot at a high major. Here's your chance. Like you get to go out and prove it against SMU.
All right. The other thing you mentioned a moment ago, we heard it all day long yesterday. We heard it leading up to Selection Sunday, wins above bubble, which is the brand new thing. And that's essentially, how'd you do individual game by individual game based on what you were expected to do in that game? Is that kind of the easiest way to say it?
Yeah, it's like, what would the average bubble team do against your schedule? And it's the easiest way kind of to try to like figure out like the differentiating schedules. And the biggest thing that we learned from that metric is that road wins are like gold. Like if you have a 6% chance to go on the road, the average bubble team has a 6% chance to go on the road and win a game at Purdue, and you're able to go win that game, like that's plus 0.94 and wins above bubble. I thought the committee is basically like they've gone all in on it. You saw that basically yesterday. The only team with a positive wins above bubble score that didn't make the tournament was Auburn. And I'm cool with that, right? Like Auburn had 16 losses. That would have been the most losses that any of a at-large team would have had and made the tournament. So if you can manufacture your wins above bubble, you go on the road, you beat teams to have a positive wins above bubble, you have a really, really good chance of making the NCAA tournament.
Isaac, I do want to pivot a little bit to Duke, mainly because the Pacers have a chance to get the top 4 pick in the draft, and if they land the top 4 pick, they get to retain it. Otherwise, if it's a little bit higher, it goes on to the Clippers. So all of that in mind, I feel like we've talked a lot, here on these airwaves about AJ DeBanza, Darren Peterson, and Karen Boozer's kind of flown under the radar a bit for our audience. How good of a player has he been this season? And is he the National Player of the Year? I know that's been a discussion as well.
Yeah, he's Thanos. He is literally inevitable. Every single game, he just finds a way to contribute. And I would encourage anybody to go watch that ACC tournament finale against Virginia. Like, he had 13 points on 3 for 17 shooting and was the best player on the floor. Like, the 8 assists that he has, his playmaking is just terrific, completely relentless on the offensive glass. And he's just wired to play winning basketball, like just so good on the glass, makes great decisions in the post. If you double him, he's finding the open man. He's just relentless. And I think early in the season, I was a little concerned about like his feet, like he doesn't get a ton of lift in the paint. But all of those kind of issues have kind of gone away for me. He is a knockdown shooter, over 40% from three-point range, just gorgeous stroke, makes all his free throws, tough in the paint. And I just think the winning is something that you just can't overemphasize. And he is certainly running away with National Player of the Year. And my concerns about him as a pro, like, were a little higher at the beginning of the year, and I have none now. Like, I just feel like he has just wired to play winning basketball. And if you put him on the same floor with like a Tyrese Halliburton, like, the type of processing for your point guard and your power forward at the same time, like, that would probably break a lot of computer models.
I like it. Thanks, as always, for joining us, Isaac Troder, CBS Sports. Your time has arrived, my friend. It's going to be a lot of fun from here until we get done in Indy, the Monday night, first Monday night in April. So,
of course, guys. Thanks for having me.
You bet. There you go. By the way, I was looking at wins above bubble yesterday. Do you guys know where Purdue is on the list and the rankings for wins above bubble? Surprised me a little bit.
I do not.
4th, the entire nation.
Well, they've been excellent away from home this season. I think
That's
it's
why.
8-3 on the road. I believe it's undefeated on the neutral floor. Remember, they hammered Texas Tech down there, and I think it was the Bahamas, I want to say. They won at Alabama in the non-conference. So, is that a good thing for them coming up? It was funny. I was at the Bulldog Friday night, one of my favorite
How'd that go, by the way?
establishments. It was excellent there. Thank you to Jack Daniels and our small ball event. We'll be at Parks Place Pub a week from tonight for our championship. So you can still get into our championship there. $1,000 grand prize. So come out to Parks Place Pub a week from Monday, and I'll be there 7 to 9. But I was chatting with some Purdue fans because obviously it was packed there for the Purdue-Nebraska game. And somebody came up to me and mentioned that, in kind of their Purdue group text, there's a thought of they've almost treated the regular season like an NBA team treats a regular season.
Oh, really? Okay.
And then all of a sudden, this switch is flipped, come March, whereas an NBA team obviously would, flip it come playoff time. There's a little bit of like, boy, that sounds good in my head. I don't know if I totally believe it. But then you watch them play in Chicago and you're like, well, damn. I mean, it certainly looks like that. Again, it might be giving a little too much credit to everybody involved there, but I don't know if there is like any sort of like, we just got to get to March. We just got to get to March. I mean, they could have gone undefeated this regular season, and everybody still would have said that. Well, you got to prove it over 6 nights in March and April. And I guess that's separate even from the Big Ten tournament, but I just thought that was an interesting thought that someone had brought up to me.
It is that time of year, and I can't wait for it to get here in a couple of weeks, but it's going to be a lot of fun. And for those that will be traveling to St. Louis on Friday night, I mean, that's tailor-made, Kevin. 7:35 start for a place that's about 3.5, 4 hours away. There's going to be a pretty big Purdue crowd, I would think, on Friday night, don't you?
You nervous about how many Missouri fans could be there on Sunday?
I did think about that when I saw the bracket released the other day, but I also think Purdue is well equipped to handle Missouri.
Columbia, a couple hours away for those
About an hour,
unfamiliar
yeah.
with the
Not even that far.
geography
2 hours,
there.
maybe?
But yeah, so Purdue and Queens will have the Queens head coach Grant Leonard on Friday. Queens just made the jump from D2. I think we've had more of this here recently. They've been in D1 for less than 5 years. But yeah, as Isaac said there, they are a team, very balanced scoring, very high scoring team. Beat Central Arkansas in overtime to win their conference title. They weren't favored to win their conference championship here. Not much size really at all. So those are a couple things that stood about the Queens Royals. In Charlotte, Jeff, you familiar with their campus at all?
I have been around. I've not been on the campus, but I drove by it a lot. It's just really just east of what they call uptown, not downtown down there. It's just a couple of miles from the city center there. So very much a city campus.
More like junior college transfers than anything on that team. When you saw this, remember last year, Mark, we had that, was it Alan Huss? Was that the coach at High Point? Didn't we have him on?
That sounds right,
We had the Grambling coach the year before. We've kind of done this with Purdue. And last year, that High Point team was a lot of D1 transfers, whereas this team is a little bit more of the junior college ranks.
Well, it's worked out for them well. One last thing on that wins above bubble. Like Michigan, Duke, Arizona, far and away scored higher on that than anybody else. Give you an example. Michigan was 14.07 when you add all that up that he was talking about. Duke's 13.97. Arizona was 13.94. And then Purdue comes in at 9.12. I mean, those three teams are way ahead in that metric of anybody. It's crazy. So I kind of agree with what he says. You look at number one seeds of the field. I thought it was a great question, Kevin. I'm generally a chalky guy when I fill out my bracket. This is going to be really chalky when I get it done this week.
Yeah, I do think this is probably the most, yes, the one seeds I think are on a tier, but I also think like that second tier
Pretty good.
is pretty darn good. I mean, he brings up Wisconsin. I mean, James, you're fighting Illini can certainly get hot. obviously Purdue can score with anyone. Like Iowa State is a 2 seed.
Houston is a 2.
Right. I mean, when you watch that Big 12 tournament, Arizona they had some great games
Yeah.
just to win it. Houston comes back, and Jaden Bradley hits that crazy shot on Friday night to advance there. So, again, there is yes, I would, to answer my own question I asked Isaac, I would say that, yes, I would probably take the 1 seeds, but still, I don't think this is like the UConn back-to-back years or even the Florida, back-to-back years of like they are far and away the better team. I think once you get to that Sweet 16 round, I think we could see just some unbelievable games. Duke struggled with Virginia, and I mean, hell, Virginia almost lost to Notre Dame. Should have lost to Notre Dame.
For those wondering at home, Indiana was 49th on that list, a minus 0.73.
Question for you all, especially Mark and Kevin, because they have younger kids. But when you fill out the brackets, do you do that with your kids as well? Where you just let them pick like the random teams? And honestly, it's funny because we'll look up in like a week and they might actually have the best bracket in the house.
Oh, yeah.
And they chose it based off like mascots or something.
I don't think I've been the high Bowen bracket in years.
My oldest didn't want to go to bed until she filled out her bracket. She still wants to
There you
fill out
go.
a women's bracket later.
That's well done.
She ended up with, I believe, Northern Iowa winning the national championship.
Wow.
Northern Iowa against, I believe, Iowa State.
Panthers, right?
Wow.
Mhm.
Let's
Well,
go.
she loves Iowa.
Man,
James,
Caitlin Clark fan?
I don't know.
one little note for you, James. The lovely Mrs. Rickards' alma mater winning the Ivy League championship yesterday or this weekend. Penn going up against 2 in the first round.
Illinois.
There you go.
Yeah, we finna beat the brakes off them.
So
Shout out to the missus.
That's Fran McCaffrey, right?
That is Fran McCaffrey. The guy on their best player scored like 44.
Yeah, TJ Power. I think
to get him to the tournament.
I think he used to go to Duke, if I remember correctly.
Yeah,
That was
so-
a crazy finish. There were some wild ones.
It
I don't know
was.
if you guys watched Dayton St. Louis to finish to that on Saturday.
The last 9 seconds were insane.
Back and forth and back and forth.
Blurry Bird hits a 3. It looks like it's going to be the game winner. Then Dayton tips it into the. I love Dayton's powder blue jerseys. And then Dayton tips it into the buzzer. They almost stole a bid there. So
I think there were 3 lead changes in the final 10 seconds, weren't there?
wild. And that finish to Penn Yale was crazy.
I know.
Yale almost hit that 80-footer after Power hits the
Right
3
off the
to
back iron.
send it into overtime.
Yeah. So I got beef with Mrs. Rickard until further notice.
Good luck with that.
I'm winning
Basketball,
this.
you'll be okay.
Is she locked in, Jeff? Was she on the edge of her seat watching Fran?
She was busy preparing a birthday dinner last night, and she was like, "Oh, that's great," and then she got back to what she was doing. So I don't think
Yeah,
she
you
harbors.
you're getting a buzzer for playing your son's birthday?
No, for not being excited for her team.
Well, she was excited, but she had things to do.
I've
Mark,
gotten
a
that.
little quick trigger over there,
I've
man.
gotten that shoulder shrug before. Okay, who cares?
James gonna A your car this week. Send a
Hey,
message.
I'm just saying, if you see some toilet tissue across the trees, I'm just letting you know it wasn't me.
Yeah,
It sounded like when I asked Ashley if she wanted to watch the wrestling pay-per-view with me last night. She's like, no thanks.
How'd that go, by the way?
Very good. Very, very, very bloody.
Oh, all right.
Texas death match, baby.
Who won?
Maxwell Jacob Friedman won.
All right.
Glass, needles, barbed wire. It was outstanding.
Man, I'm sorry I missed it, Mark.
I'll send you a link. You can watch it later.
Let's check it down.
Sorry, I was watching Selection Sunday in the
The
World Baseball
Morning
Classic.
Checkdown on 93.5 and 107.5 The Fan.
That's what mobile TVs are for.
Yeah, Well, Mark, your love of the World Baseball Classic is really waned.
World Baseball Classic, a little something for everybody. And then I had the wrestling thing on my laptop.
By the way, tough night for the Oscars and the sports crowd last night. Between World Baseball Classic, Selection Sunday. Are you kidding me, man?
I was gonna say it was a good crowd, right? You got Michael B. Jordan, used to be Vince in Friday Night Lights.
Mm-hmm.
He gets an Oscar, and then Ryan Coogler was a star wide receiver, I believe, at Sacramento State back in the day. So shout out to those two guys.
All right.
One battle after another. That's
know.
also very good. That won Best Picture.
There you go.
All right, let's talk about basketball. Purdue earning a number 2 seed after beating Michigan in the Big Ten Tournament Conference Final yesterday. 80-72. Braden Smith is the tournament MVP. He is only 2 assists away from breaking Bobby Hurley's all-time assist record in the NCAA. He'll have a chance to do it in the first-round matchup on Friday night against Queens from St. Louis. It'll tip off at 7:35. By the way, one little footnote here. Boilers have been a top 4 seed in their last 9 NCAA tournament appearances.
I think it's one of the most impressive stats, frankly, about Purdue under Matt Painter. And, I've said this a lot about Purdue in these tournament runs. You just have to give yourself quality darts to throw at the board. And when you are a top 4 seed in 9 straight tournaments, because you never know. Injuries, luck, bracket falls one way, this or that. You never know when the year's going to be. Look at the Colts Super Bowl run with Peyton. You ask anybody on those teams, they would say that Super Bowl team was like the 3rd or 4th best team of all those years there. And I believe Arizona, I think, is second with 5. And I want to say it's like Alabama and Houston are next up with 4. So, I mean, they are overwhelmingly the most consistent top 4 seed here over the last, 5 to 10 years.
All right. The Indiana Pacers continue their slide towards a top 4 pick in the upcoming NBA lottery, or at least they hope. They lose to the Bucks 134-123 at the Fieldhouse yesterday in a matinee game. They were competitive in this game until the fourth quarter when Aaron Nesmith, who had a career-high 32 points, sat on the bench along with Ivica Zubac and T.J. McConnell. None of them played with the game on the line in the fourth quarter there. So Pacers taking care of their business there, Jeff.
Got to preserve the tank, baby.
Speaking of that, you ready for the roll of the Tankathon today?
Hit me.
All right. For the second time in a row, we did it again on Friday. Indiana, the number 1 pick. They've lost 13 in a row. Ahead of New Orleans. Well, Atlanta and New Orleans. New Orleans got it through Atlanta. Washington is the 3rd, and they've lost 11 games in a row. So at 15-53, Indiana creating a little bit of space for the worst record in the NBA right now.
Doesn't matter, right? What is it, the top 4 or the top 3 teams, Kevin? I believe the top 4. Like with the worst records in the NBA, they all get the same percentage of odds
52.1%.
the ping pong balls.
Yeah. So there you go. Nemhard Siakam did not play at all. And they've got the Knicks tomorrow night on the road. And then they come home Wednesday for a game against Portland, only to go back on the road to play at San Antonio on Saturday. So not an easy schedule. And then schedule kind of picks up too, Kevin. They might not win again until April when you look at this schedule.
Yeah, Friday night they had a great chance, honestly. They cut it to 2 there late. Zubac has played in each of these last 3 games. You are getting a little bit of that. I'm still waiting to see Siakam with him. We'll see if that's something that pops up here. With Siakam missing some time with a sprained knee. But, yeah, it's at least nice to see Zubac play. I know Mitchell Robinson absolutely dominated the glass on Friday night. One of the more impressive efforts I've seen, but good to see him get a little clock.
All right, high school basketball. Mount Vernon stays alive. They'll be playing Decatur Central this weekend. New Albany's going up against Terre Haute in 4A. This is in the southern half, the teams that we've watched most of the year. Also in the south, in 3A, Roncalli is going to take on Silver Creek. Cathedral, Kevin, going up against Princeton Community after a nice 2-point win over Brebeuf this past weekend.
James, I know you were in the building. Looked pretty epic. And watching Luke Ertl say, here's the cherry on top for my Mr. Basketball. It's coming my way.
Yeah, certainly Mr. Basketball moments, plural, for him over at Southport. And it was literally standing room only, packed house, great crowd. I enjoyed it. And when the game was over, a Pike fan next to me looked at me and said, we just witnessed basketball Jesus. All he could do was tip his cap to Luke Ertl.
Yep. 2A, teams we've kind of paid attention to. LaPel taking on Westview, Triton Central Park Heritage, and then 1A in the South, it'll be Bar Reeve against Liberty Christian, while Bloomfield goes up against Hauser.
I swear Bar Reeve has like a factory down there.
Factory. How about Carmel getting upset by Fort Wayne Snyder? I know that was a surprise to some there. So if you look at it, again, it's a lot of just kind of new blood, frankly, in the 4A ranks, north or south here. So I know Jeff said south. That 4A semi-state will be, it's more like due east. That's Newcastle coming up. And
they just classify.
Right. And just to remind everybody, we'll get 2 games. So 10 a.m., noon on Saturday, and then the trip to go to Gamebridge Fieldhouse, 8 o'clock at pretty much all these sites.
Is this snow?
Saturday.
Yeah, I just looked outside, snow flying across the parking lot over there.
I'm sick of this.
And the wind still flies yesterday, too. Do it again, Mark, for that.
Oh, my gosh.
I don't have the patience to jack with you today.
Oh, my gosh. What?
I literally almost said something that Mark was going to have to dump when I looked outside the window. I mean, seriously, just bleep that, Mark. I mean, like, what? Is that real?
That's real. My brother who lives in Wisconsin said he's already been given a snow day from work. They're like, don't come. There's blizzard warnings. What? Are you kidding?
Oh, Lord.
And it'll be 70 by Thursday, right?
That's the Midwest, baby. Take it or leave it.
Springtime in the Midwest right there. All right, women's basketball, the number 1 seeds in the tournament are going to be UConn, South Carolina, UCLA, Texas. No real surprise there. As far as the Team USA women's basketball, the World Cup qualifier continues in Puerto Rico. The USA, no problem with New Zealand, 101-46. Caitlin Clark got a start, scored 14 points and 6 assists. World Baseball Classic last night, USA over the Dominican Republic, 2-1. Came right down to the last out, and they disputed called strike at the end, but they went the Team USA's way, and they're on to the finals.
Very favorable call towards the United States.
Low.
The bullpen was outstanding, though. You know, Skeens was pretty darn good as well. You got those, 3 solo shots in the game there, and that was it. So, yeah, 2-1. The U.S. took that lead in, I'm trying to think back, 5th maybe, something like that?
Fourth, I think it was
or
the 4th
5th.
inning, yeah.
And then held on from there. So they will wait the winner of tonight. That is the Italians and the Venezuelan crew. And that will be your championship game for the World Baseball Classic coming up tomorrow.
I don't think we can take Italy for granted anymore. They just keep putting 8-9 runs on the board every night.
No, agreed.
All right, that'll be tomorrow night, that championship. Again, PGA yesterday, nice little comeback you were talking about. You didn't get the chance to see it all that much, though, right?
No, I don't watch.
All right.
It's hoops. Cameron Young, shout out.
Yeah, he was down a stroke going into 17, got a birdie, and then just did his thing. So that's what's going on with that. A lot of crickets from the Colts this past. Not crickets, but not a lot of needle-moving moves, would you say, James?
Nah, not really.
I think crickets is a fine way to describe it. Maybe on the other side we can get to know your new Colt.
Yeah, I think that's outstanding. Quickly in IndyCar, Grand Prix of Arlington goes to Kyle Kirkwood. Overcame a couple of tough pit stops at the end and then passed Alex Palou in the final laps to get the win there. They will go on to Alabama and race at Barber Motorsports Park on March the 29th. Also, we can tell you a loss, tough one on the road for our favorite volleyball team at this point in time, the Indy Ignite. They lose in Omaha, so that was not fun over the weekend. But the Fisher's Freight did light up the event center over there with a 45-27 season opening win over the Quad City Steamwheelers. Must have been our conversation with Dixie Wooten on Friday.
You must have gone with the Fish pregame story.
Yeah, that's what it was. Fired everybody up.
Pregame speech looked like Herb Brooks out there.
Anything else, guys?
Not at all.
All right. Then in a moment, we'll meet your newest Colts via Kevin Bowen next on 93.5 and 107.5 The Fan.
day and age to reading the good news on the newspaper page. And love and tradition of the grand design.
You're listening to the Fan Morning Show on Sports Radio 93.5 and 107.5 The Fan.
Is the Family Matters theme, Mark?
Well, we're going to talk about the new members of the Colts family, so it's very appropriate.
As you wear your Hammond Bears sweater this morning.
You know it. What a great show Family Matters.
I was going to say, excellent show. I had to go back to holding my bracket during the break after looking outside. The bracket calms me down.
Does it?
Holding
it's like your blankie?
Calms me down after looking outside and seeing freaking snow.
Not too early to do skin to skin with it again.
It's snowing sideways right now.
Tell me twice,
outside
Mark.
the studio.
This stinks.
Who should we get to know this fine Monday morning for newcomers for the Indianapolis Colts, Kevin?
James Wanye?
Yes. Wanye Thomas, safety from Dallas, the Cowboys. I think he has some positional versatility. I was looking into this a little bit.
Is he going to start?
I think there's a legitimate chance he could and replace Nick Cross. Now, I don't necessarily hate that decision. I will say that Wanye Thomas does not have a lot of NFL experience when it comes to starting, but I do think, to your point that you made here on the show, Kevin, that is a position where you can kind of plug and play a guy.
Right.
And I will say that he showed a lot more promise last year before the migraines took him off the field. Now, I know people are probably thinking, what? We already got one cornerback who's dealing with concussions. The other one we bring in, the safety, has migraine issues. Yes, I did ask about that myself, and hopefully we'll get a chance to hear from Wanye Thomas this week whenever he officially signs. But, yeah, from what I understand, he has it under control. They feel confident in his ability to help this team. So started 3 games last year out of his 7 that he played. Pretty athletic guy. And kind of I think a guy who you look at similarly to the Javarius Ward path, where it's like undrafted, kind of an underdog, but very athletic and someone who can make plays. So that is the skinny on Wanye Thomas.
Yeah, just to be clear, and I don't think you were saying this, but nowhere near Ward's production so far
No.
in the NFL.
I meant more so like kind of unknown and still trying to figure it out. And also the Dallas connection. I want to say that Javarius might have started there as well in his career.
So 2 safeties were signed late on Friday, and the most popular person involved with all these safeties happens to be the wife of one of them. That
Deservedly so.
Yes, very deservedly so. That would be Simone Biles. Mark Dykton, Jonathan Owens puts a Bears uniform for quite a while, right?
Yeah, 3 seasons, I believe 2. But
mostly a special teamer.
Mostly special teamer, rotated occasionally and everything, but for the most part, yeah. Just a rotational guy in the secondary.
So again, Nick Cross is now with the Commanders, so that opens up a strong safety starting job. Wanye Thomas James is big, like 6'3", 215. I mean, like that's a big safety. I mean, hell, for the Colts, it's been a linebacker size, frankly, here in years past. So, we talked a little bit about it late last week when Nick Cross joined the Commanders. The Colts have little to no experience at all left at safety. But again, to James's point, I do feel like this is a position where you can kind of Band-Aid it. And so we'll see if Thomas in particular could be that guy. So those were the 2 new additions for the Colts. They did re-sign 3 guys on offense, all at the pass-catching spots: Laquan Treadwell, Drew Ogletree, and Mo Alley Cox. So their tight end depth chart, James, I guess will be the exact same it was last year, right?
Yeah, and honestly, I didn't mind what their tight ends offered last year. You probably want to see a little bit more from someone like Will Mallory from a passing standpoint, but I think there's a bigger role to be had for Tyler Warren with the absence of Michael Pittman Jr. moving forward. And then when you look at what Mo Alley Cox has done in years past, he is still one of the best blocking tight ends in the NFL. And I know it's not sexy, and it doesn't necessarily grab the attention of everyone watching every Sunday, but he matters, I think, a great deal to the offense. And when he's in that role versus being your number 1 tight end like he was for a couple of years there, very different, I think, in the production levels of what you're asking him to do.
We talk a lot about defensive end and if there's another edge rusher move coming at some point in time, but they still have a really thin group of linebackers, do they not, at this point in time?
Yes, very thin. Yeah, we've chatted about this. Jermaine Pratt, to me, as a free agent, I would probably look into bringing him back. I've kind of always thought that they probably would have one of the, when I say starting linebackers, I think at this point, teams just start 2. And that's pretty much it. So
Yeah.
I look at one of the 2 coming via the draft. But again, given the kind of exotic nature of a Lou Anarumo defense, I think it's important that you have some veteran and maybe even some guy that has history with Lou. And of course, that is Jermaine Pratt. So he is the last one, really, James. Tyquan Lewis, I expect to sign elsewhere. I saw Danny Pinter, the former Ball State product, visited. I want to say it was Baltimore, maybe. So I just don't see a lot of kind of in-house re-signings anymore. I mean, they've really re-signed quite a few of them.
Yeah.
And then quite a few of them have also left. So linebacker for me, that's how I would say. 1 in free agency, 1 in the draft, and that's probably what your starting lineup is going to look like next year there.
Does that count, Jermaine Pratt, one in free agency?
Yeah.
All right, yeah. Just double checking there. All right, so that's what's going on with the Indianapolis Colts and Meet Your Colts. But yeah, Simone Biles, she was very excited, it seemed like, on social media to say hello to Indy and looking forward to coming down there. That's kind of nice to hear.
She liked one of my tweets about Jonathan.
Oh, there we go.
I screenshot that.
Say no more.
And shout out to Kate Fryman, one of the more prominent Colts fans online. When I put out the news of them signing Jonathan Owens, she replied and said, "Wait a second, James, you buried the lead. Like, you didn't mention the biggest factor of his life." And I was like, "Oh, by the way, yeah, he happens to be the husband of the GOAT, Simone Biles." And so she was lurking there and liked a couple of tweets. And so I screenshotted to make sure that it's real. And there I have it. I met Simone Biles, people.
That's why you're the future king of all media.
I'm just saying, man, hey, use the right hashtags, you might get lucky.
Simone Biles picking up a few shifts at Dana Mannix at 96th and I-69 to teach kids in
I will say
gymnastics.
This will not be my when she inevitably comes to a Colts game. It won't be the first time I've been in the same building as Simone Biles. She stopped by actually for a Fever game last summer with Gabby Thomas. So she is a very big supporter of women's sports, obviously. So I would expect her to, spend a lot of time catching up with the Fever now that she presumably will be moving to Indianapolis, or at least spending a lot of time here with Jonathan Owens.
All right, coming up in a moment, we'll talk more about March Madness making its way to Indianapolis. It will start tomorrow. We'll tell you all about it. If you're just waking up, we'll give you some analysis on some early matchups as we continue next. It's 93.5 and 107.5 The Fan. All right, quick NCAA and March Madness tournament update brought to you by Urology of Indiana, vasectomy centers right now. You know by now, hopefully, that Purdue is a number 2 seed in the West region. They will open play Friday night in St. Louis. And it'll be a nice, I don't know, Kevin, nice draw for them in the first couple of games before they start running into big-time tournament. They'll play Queens of Charlotte to start things off Friday night. But what's the rest of that bracket look like real quick? Just Arizona waiting perhaps in the Elite Eight, right?
Yeah, we're talking Purdue's bracket?
Yeah.
Yeah, Miami, Missouri would be the winner for Purdue there. Gonzaga is the 3, and yes, Arizona is the 1 seed out west.
All right. I also want to point out that for the 7th consecutive season, the Marion women's basketball team advancing to the NAIA National Tournament round of 16. They won with a commanding 70-47 win Saturday night against Columbia College in the NAIA second round. So they are now on to the to this round of 16. So good on them. All right, that's what's happening in college basketball. Brought to you by Urology of Indiana's Vasectomy Centers, board-certified physicians performing safe and effective vasectomies. View our video and schedule your procedure at vasectomyindy.com.
Oh, you look outside on a day like today, we need some uplifting. How about a new or used car coming up here in 2026? Thank you to our friends over at the wonderful Andy Moore Group campus out there off of Rockville Road. You've got some excellent choices, variety out there in Avon. And how about the little Kia action? You can test drive Red Hot New 2027 Telluride or shop their deep inventory of quality used vehicles, including over 20 cars priced under $15,000. Don't forget, expert service technicians are there to help with any repairs you need. You can visit Andy Moore Kia on Rockville Road in Avon to learn more. 0% APR for 48 months for qualified buyers on the 2026 Sorrento and Sportage. Affordability, massive inventory. That's what you get over there at the Andy Moore campus. Make sure you check out the Kia location today.
We the one that kept it cool without it. Did it, start acting. Shoot like a film, man, a movie. I don't let them have it. We ballin' like the March Madness.
You're listening to the Fan Morning Show on Sports Radio 93.5 and 107.5 The Fan.
still snowing a little bit outside, but at least it's not just complete blizzard like it was a moment ago, James Boyd.
I know they must have known, the weather people, that Mark was going to play March Madness, so we had to lighten the mood a little bit. Shout out to Future one time. Like, a lot of bangers he's put out over the years.
Yeah, that's one thing you can guarantee with all the re-entries. Mark is always going to play a bunch of bangers, too.
Oh, yeah. And that one, I mean, obviously it's fitting. The name of the song is March Madness, and here we are now entering the fray. So, question for you all. When you fill out the bracket, are you just doing – it's one, right? One and done. That's it.
One and done.
We used to call it the bracket of integrity.
Okay. Just making sure. Because I must say, nothing irks me more than that friend who fills out like 7 brackets and they tell me that their 6th one is like the 99th percentile. Shut up, you loser.
It annoys me, too, that even ESPN – I
could not agree more.
If you look on the ESPN one, it says up to 25. 25?
Yeah.
One and done. That's
I know. I mean, we're losing recipes around here. I did see that Derek Schultz took his son over to Hokies and Hops yesterday, grabbed some grub, and had him fill it out by hand. And I was thinking to myself, boy, the youth might be all right.
I love that. I love Derek Schultz. Thank you for that.
Yes, that's a memory right there.
Love that.
We're going to look up in 25 years, and his son's going to do the same thing with his son. I love it.
It's good stuff. So Oscars last night. You were paying attention to the Oscars. I didn't really pay attention this morning. I woke up and kind of looked at the list of winners and stuff.
Yeah.
Anything surprise you as a guy who's watched a lot of movies this past year?
Not necessarily. I wouldn't even consider myself a big movie guy. I did watch Sinners. I think it's one of the best movies I've ever seen. But I was just intrigued by the whole Michael B. Jordan. I saw you as Vince in Friday Night Lights years ago and saw you in a couple of different, sports adjacent movies, I would say. And now you're winning the award for best lead male actor, I believe, in a film.
That's correct.
And then Ryan Coogler, by the way, played actual college football and was good at Sacramento State. And so he was, like a record-setting wide receiver for them. So he was someone who again, very good football player, and then pivoted to filmmaking and won for, I think, Best Picture or something like that. So that was pretty cool to see, again, just how the sports world's kind of influenced some of the stuff on that end.
Best original screenplay for Ryan Coogler.
There you go.
If I could go with the best picture from this weekend, every time the camera panned to Gene Katie.
That was cool. That actually,
he was having fun.
Yeah, and seeing, what was it, Lance?
Yeah,
help him
see
to
Lance
the court.
Jones help him to the floor. By the way, Lance Jones for like a 1-year player, like what a beloved. I feel like he's like such a beloved Purdue player. Obviously, he hit one of the more iconic shots in program's history to kind of ice that Tennessee game and send him to the Final Four. But yeah, I love that, and like just the variety of what you saw from Gene Katie. There was one time, I want to say it might have been the UCLA game, where they showed him and he kind of gave a pump of the fist a little bit there. I'm like, this is that was awesome to see. So hopefully Coach Katie's in good enough health to be in St. Louis and potentially San Jose and right here in Indy. I thought that was a really, really cool scene when they showed him.
One of my favorite brushes with greatness many years ago, early morning out at the Indy airport, standing in line at Starbucks at like 5:45 or 6 o'clock in the morning, and I looked up, and right in front of me is Gene Katie.
That reminds me of when I was in the elevator during All-Star Weekend a couple years ago, and it opens, and I step in there, and it's Dr. J to the left of me. And I got a plate of nachos. I think I told you all this story before. I had a plate of nachos, and we're ready to get off the elevator, and I go to step off, and the guy sticks his hand out, and he says, "You cannot get nacho cheese on Dr. J. Let Dr. J get off early." And we were waiting, and he was like, "Hey, if he stops and talks to 100 people, you just wait behind him because you don't want to get nacho cheese on the guy who inspired Michael Jordan."
That was like when you almost ran into Serena Williams.
Yeah, that was crazy. And I actually did not almost run into her. I just said politely, "Excuse me," and she turns around, and I was thinking to myself, "Excuse me." Like, I'm so sorry for ever even, like, speaking to you. That was crazy. It turns out that she's a minority owner of the Miami Dolphins, so maybe I'll see her again at the owners' meetings. That's always a unique place to be because
when are those? When are you heading out? It's got to be the end of this month.
Yeah,
right?
I want to say it's in April.
Is it?
Well, actually, no. It actually is the end of this month. I'm not. I think about it, but yeah, whenever you head out there, and you see like they have like this big media party that they do for all of those who are in attendance and owners, and it's really like the only place you'll ever be where you're like players aren't there, but you're around everyone within the franchise, and you're all like kind of on the same level for one night. So like there's no like security keeping you from walking over to Shane Steichen and saying what's up. But what's crazy about that is you'll see some random people, or you'll think are random, and you're like, oh, they must have a stake in a team or something. For example, I was walking through the last one, and Vince Carter was there, And I'm like, why is Vince Carter here? And he's a minority owner, I believe, of the Miami Dolphins or some other team. So, yeah, a lot of cool faces you see and stories to tell, I guess, for down the line.
Didn't the Dolphins just have like a whole big group of celebrities, actors, and athletes that they pulled into part ownership a couple years ago?
I'm not exactly sure, but
I think
wouldn't
there
be
are like
surprised.
Gloria Estefan was one of the entertainers. There was just a whole bunch of them like that, and probably not a bad way to raise some money if you're the owner, right?
Not bad at all. And just to give you all some clarity, I guess, on what the owners' meetings present and when they are. Yeah, there's the end of this month. We'll be heading out to Phoenix, and that's the next time we will talk to Chris Ballard on the record. And the next time we will talk to Carly Irsay Gordon on the record about the state of the team. Same thing with Shane Steichen and where things are. So over the next couple of days, as they continue to sign and re-sign players, we'll probably get some Zoom calls or maybe some in-person, press conferences from different signees, but the actual decision makers won't be available until the end of this month.
My only owners meeting memory was being out in Arizona probably now a decade ago, and I had a shriek of eruption in my body when Pat Connaughton blocked Kellen Dunham to send the Notre Dame Butler second-round game into overtime, which Notre Dame then won.
For me, it's always just, Kevin, besides trying to keep up with like the other sports that are going on, besides talking to people about the NFL season, which isn't for months, it's just the amount of wealth. Like, I remember being in the hallway last year, seriously.
Dude, I'm like,
Crazy.
you got to walk in the middle of the hallway because if you touch anything in this hotel, all of a sudden an alarm's going to go off.
It's unbelievable. We were at, I think it was Palm Beach last year, and I sitting in the hallway, and they let out the meetings for all the owners because they have their own separate meetings away from just meeting with the media. And I'm thinking to myself, okay, like, there's a Jaguars owner. There's Carly Irsay Gordon. There's a Jets owner. Oh, wow, there's a Giants owner. And, like, you realize, oh, this is like $50 billion of net worth in this hallway. You better not touch anything.
If not more.
I'm serious. It's quite the experience.
Did the Athletics spring for a suite in the same hotel for you?
No chance. They tell us where to stay locally, and then we usually just catch Ubers and stuff over. So there's a lot of ride sharing going on those days.
March 29th to April 1st in Phoenix this year. I love Phoenix.
Boy, the YouTube chat's in a very healthy discussion about dusty banners at IU versus Purdue's no banners. It's a good Monday when we're having that debate.
Well, you know how I feel about it.
180th time in a row.
If you didn't see it, it didn't happen. So if there's like, for example, being the Illinois guy, if there's like the IU fan who tells me, and they're like my age, oh, man, we won this championship, you didn't even see it. So I don't want to hear you claiming something you didn't see.
So right now we'd be at what year? I guess I didn't see it. I was 36. So 37 years and younger, 38 years and younger, and you didn't see it? Does that fit your criteria there?
Yeah, pretty much.
I'll do it.
That's like me claiming to be like growing up in the Chicago area, and I'm a Bulls fan because of Michael Jordan. I never saw him play. Like when I was growing up, it was because of like Derrick Rose and the bench mob, and like Ronnie Brewer running the baseline.
You're watching the Bulls in the play-in for the 30th year
I mean,
in a row.
and not now.
I'm feeling really old right now, Mark Dykton. Really old.
Yeah, that's not ideal.
Jeff can claim them all. He can claim all three IU banners.
There you go.
There you go.
Well, at least you saw him. I mean, that should be a criteria. Right? Is that a bad take? Weigh in.
I watched the championship game when they won the perfect undefeated season.
Yeah, and that's fine. Like, I think that's commendable. You saw it happen.
I was a kid, but I watched it.
It's fine.
You saw the Wilt Chamberlain 100-point game in person, too.
I did not see the Wilt Chamberlain 100 point.
So the ticket.
That may have been before I was born, Mark. Believe it or not.
Ruth call a shot, Mark.
Yeah, you know it.
That's funny.
On the grassy knoll with JFK.
But let me tell you about Ted Williams. Brandon from Greenwood writes, guys, take a deep breath. In with a good, out with the bad. It's going to be 80 degrees this weekend as we watch it snow outside the studio. Right
just in time. Heating up just in time for my trip to Newcastle. I want to stay at the Steve Alford Inn so bad.
You'd be shorts and a T-shirt out there in the old semi-state around there.
All right, hopefully Rob Blackman comes your way next. I know dude's been probably up all night, traveling, doing all kinds of things,
Rob.
man.
We
Let's
need
go,
you.
Rob. He's the best. We'll do it next at 93.5 and 107.5 The Fan.
We Grow Hair Indy. I think actually earlier in the show, Jeff asked me if I got a haircut. Well, I did not, but thank you. I've got enough hair to, I guess, cut a little bit here. Thank you to We Grow Hair Indy for that. They are the gold standard when it comes to hair restoration. They're ready to help you out today. If you've ever had questions and curiosity about hair transplant or regenerative treatment, which I've heard from many people that have had those questions, just contact them. It's a free evaluation. It's a private evaluation. It can be a virtual evaluation. And they're informative and they're good people. Darren Andrews and his staff are excellent. They'll have the information that you need. They can provide some answers to those questions. And then from there, you make the decision off of that. Again, it is We Grow Hair Indy, the gold standard for hair restoration. Northwest side, that would be the Pyramids, building number 2. Lovely office up there at the Pyramids. But online, it is WeGrowHairIndy.com.
Hey, it's Mark, and we've already seen snow this morning, and the temps continue to fluctuate down in the 30s and even 20s the next couple of days. By the end of the week, high 70s and even 60s and 70s as well. The switch from the heat to air conditioning is on the way, so you need to make sure your HVAC system is up to the task. That's why you got to call my friends at Love Heating and Air Conditioning today. Then get in your home, give you a tune-up, check out what you got going on before you make that switch from the heat to AC full time. Don't delay. Give them a call. 317-353-2141 is the phone number. Or you can check them out online, love-hvac.com. Talk to a customer service rep. Set up a house call. Get them in your house today before that weather makes the full-time switch. Check out all the products and services they provide, like the Heil system they installed in my house a couple of years ago. You can also read those customer reviews and go over financial options if you need to take that next step, whether it's a tune-up or a full-blown replacement. John and Chris Love, they're fourth-generation owners. They'll make sure you're a satisfied customer, just like the Dykton household is. Plus, Love Heating and Air, serving Indianapolis and Central Indiana. Family-owned and operated for over a century. That number again, 317-353-2141 or love-hvac.com.
Listening to the Fan Morning Show on Sports Radio 93.5 and 107.5 The Fan.
There you go. A lot of people sitting a little bit straighter up in their seats on the way to work this morning. Purdue Boilermakers once again better than a top 4 seed, better than the number 3 seed, all the way up to number 2 as a seed in the West after running the table in the Big Ten Conference Tournament in Chicago this past week. And the man who watched it all unfold right before his eyes joins us now on the Payless Liquors hotline. Our good friend Rob Blackman joins us this morning. Rob, take a deep. You've taken a few deep breaths since yesterday, but how about that?
Well, good phrase, I think. How about that? Well, I'd like to say I saw that coming. The way Purdue had been struggling there late in the regular season, I just wasn't quite sure what we might see in Chicago. But we did see a renewed sense of effort and enthusiasm on the defensive end. And I think it is fair to say that was the difference maker, not only yesterday, quite frankly, but really in all four of those games. I mean, look, you guys may have already spoken about this, and I like Purdue shot the ball particularly well, 4 of 14 from three, and that was kind of the story of the whole week. Purdue was not a great shooting team, but for whatever reason, Purdue's found a renewed sense of purpose on the defensive end, and man, that certainly seemed to make a big difference.
Rob, I don't know how much you believe in artificial intelligence, AI, but how about that number 41, Braden Smith? A little different than the one we had saw previously with the jersey he ripped.
We kept joking on air, and I'm certain I wasn't the only one to think of this, but we mentioned it multiple times. If he would have broken that assist record, does that mean that we would have had to send the number 41 to Springfield? And that would have been odd. 20 years from now, you're walking through the Basketball Hall of Fame in Springfield. You're like, Purdue number 41. Who was that? I don't remember that guy. But yeah, just kind of adds to his legacy, doesn't it? It's so crazy that he had 11 assists, 0 turnovers yesterday. Here's a guy, to me, and I don't even know the best way to phrase this, but how about a guy that gets named the tournament's most outstanding player, yet in the 4 games that he played, only scored in double figures in one game. One game. The other 3 games, if you remember, he scored 5 points in all 3 of the games, 15 total points in the other 3 games. Yet is still named the tournament's most outstanding player. So that is, that's a hell of a story. And then to finish it off by wearing the number 41 jersey, that just adds to the what will someday be some great folklore to sit around and talk about with Purdue basketball fans.
The Purdue Global Radio Network, where you hear the great Rob Blackman, Bobby Riddell, of course, and they are off to St. Louis Friday, 7:35. It'll be Purdue and Queens in the 2:15 matchup. Rob, first, thank you for the time, because I know, obviously, it was a busy week in Chicago for you. And I kind of want to go back to what you said earlier. Like, if you look at their defensive effort, I want to say Nebraska is their 3rd lowest scoring total of the season. UCLA, I believe, is their 5th lowest. And then Michigan, their 6th lowest. Like, you win the Big Ten tournament. That is a hell of an accomplishment, especially in a year like this. But the way they won it, I think, is almost the most impressive aspect of, like, it's the biggest question mark we've had all year long with this team. That's how they won it. They didn't win it in 90 to 88 shootouts, which I think they can win. But winning it in that manner, I'm curious just what that'll do for them psyche-wise heading into a tournament where inevitably you're going to need some of that.
Yeah, and I'm always a bit cautious because I was courtside when Purdue won the Big Ten tournament the last time, and then went to Columbus and lost to a 16 seed. So I'm always cautious about just how much momentum does a Big Ten tournament win really provide you going into the NCAA tournament. But with that being said, it does certainly feel like, yes, Purdue has put it together at the right time, and especially on the defensive end. One of the big talking points with the coaching staff when they were with the team late Saturday night and then again Sunday morning with their film review was that, look, guys, when we played Michigan the first time, we scored 48 points on them in the second half. 48 points on the second best defense in the country. If you look at adjusted defensive efficiency numbers, we hung 48 points on these guys. Scoring against these guys is not going to be a concern. But can we continue to show the improvement we have on the defensive end in this tournament? And you saw that yesterday. And yes, to your point, if you look at all 4 games as a whole, defensively, Purdue has taken a step in the right direction. I don't think there's any way around that. I would also add this. I was at the two practices leading into the Big Ten tournament, and I hope I don't think they would mind me sharing this with you. The first practice on day one was all defense. There were no offensive drills in that 2-hour practice session. It was a point of emphasis from the coaching staff that come hell or high water, we're going to get back to being a team that can guard a little bit here. And obviously that worked, at least for, this 4-game stretch. And now you hope that again, renewed sense of purpose on the defensive end carries with you into the NCAA tournament.
Rob, I kind of felt very similar to the Colts Super Bowl. They gave the MVP to Peyton Manning. I thought Dominique Rhodes should have gotten it, or maybe even Joseph Adai in that game. Braden sets a record for assists in a Big Ten tournament, so I fully understand why he won it. But, man, I thought Oscar Clough deserved it. I just thought he was so good throughout all 4 of those games.
Oh, just look at the numbers. 20, I think yesterday was 21-5 or 21-6. And we kept harping on this in the broadcast. 19-10 against Northwestern, 12-10 or 9 against Nebraska, 17-14 against UCLA. Yes, averaged a double-double. If you would look at his numbers from last year at South Dakota State when he was 17-12, they were very similar. And look, it's one thing to do it at South Dakota State, no knock on those guys, but to do it in a Big Ten tournament against Big Ten competition, my point being, I would wholeheartedly agree with you. I felt like he was Purdue's best player, certainly most consistent player through that 4-game stretch. And quite frankly, if we're handing out, honorable mentions for outstanding player of the tournament, I think Trey Kaufman Ren and Fletcher Lawyer too would have been right there in the voting process, which to me again is exactly what you would want. If you're going to go out anyway in the postseason, you're going to go out with your 4 seniors that play the most minutes, swinging in fighting to the very end, and that's what Purdue fans saw. And again, you hope this continues on to St. Louis.
Talking to Rob Blackman, voice of the Purdue Boilermakers here at 93.5 and 107.5 The Fan, Payless Liquors Hotline. That stretch for about 5 minutes in the second half yesterday, the game was starting to get tight, and Braden Smith and Trey Kaufman Ren just started playing the 2-man game, and man, did they play that upside the head of Michigan. Have you seen them be more efficient for a concentrated period of time than they were for that 5 minutes yesterday?
I have, Jeff, but never against that level of competition. You know what? I should not say that. Last year against Houston in the Sweet 16, Purdue also found the nice thing about P.J. Thompson, who I think most Purdue fans know calls the offense, runs the offense. If he finds something that's working, he does not go away from it. He will go to the well 20 straight times if he thinks he can get a bucket. Which to me is that's good coaching, right? I mean, you figure out something that works. Why would you ever go away from it? PJ never goes away from it until you stop it. But yeah, and you guys saw it, right? Purdue was just running that little 2-man game with a ball screen, and 2 things are going to happen. If you got the switch, then Braden was going to back out and try to take a Daimara off the bounce. And if they didn't get the switch, then they just pocket passed it in there to Trey, and he was he was playing like a man among boys yesterday. But yes, and someone pointed this out to me. I don't know if this is true, but apparently Purdue went from number 2 to number 1 in adjusted offensive efficiency after that game yesterday. And if indeed that is true, I'm thinking to myself, yeah, probably, because that was about as efficient offensively as Purdue could have been yesterday. And it really all came down, as silly as it sounds, to just running the same play over and over and over and over.
So, Rob, my last one from me. When it comes to the ripped number 3 jersey, do we just restitch that? Does he get a new jersey? Is he wearing 41 moving forward? These are questions that are very, demanding right now from the fan base.
James, I can tell you're a media nerd just like me, because I actually, and just by dumb luck on the bus ride home yesterday, I sat with our equipment manager. We sat together, and I asked him the same question. And this is how the process works. Number 1, Purdue does have a backup number 3 jersey of the same color and everything with Smith on the back, but it was back at West Lafayette. So there is a backup jersey. And so number 1, they did stitch. Let me back up. They did stitch the jersey back up at halftime, but it looked so terrible they chose not to wear it. He could have worn it in the second half, but it was so ugly. Looked like Frankenstein's face, from what I'm told. So they chose not to put it back on him. But they do have a backup jersey back in West Lafayette that they can use. And plus, our equipment guy had already spoken to the folks at Nike, and they promised them they will have them a new one before the week is over, so they have a backup to the backup. So all should be fine with the black Nike jersey that says Purdue across the chest.
All right, I guess we should be fine with some of these equipment issues as long as they keep winning, right?
Who was doing the stitching? That's what I want to know. We got a grandma with her Singer machine down there in the basement of the United Center?
Do the Chicago Bulls or Blackhawks actually have a seamstress on full-time salary?
I love that.
I don't know.
We know anything at all, Rob, about Queens, St. Louis? I'm trying to think. Purdue hasn't played. I don't even know the last time Purdue would have played in St. I think that's where Arch Madness is. You got anything for us on Friday night, the location of the team?
I took about 5 minutes on the bus ride home to look up their stats. The one thing that jumped off the page to me, really two things. They score a bunch of points. I mean, they had, I don't know how many games this year, but they've scored 90. But they've also given up a bunch of points. They've had a bunch of teams score 90 or 100 against them. That was the first thing that caught my attention. The second thing was they do have 6 guys averaging double-digit scoring, which to me is that's a pretty unique number. I can't think of the last time Purdue played a team where the other team had 6 guys that averaged double digits. So apparently this group has no trouble scoring the ball. It doesn't sound like they're very good defensively. But again, that's just with a quick look at the stats, and I was quite frankly way too tired to do more than 5 minutes worth of work last night. So that's about all I know on those guys.
Always great to talk to you, Rob. Get some rest. Rest that voice. Coming up Friday night, St. Louis, 7:35 against Queens. Round 1 of the NCAA tournament, right back where they're supposed to be, right?
Well, that's where we all thought we'd be when it all started. It looked a little hairy there for a while, but yes, we're back where we thought we'd be.
You did a great job pulling it out for us there, Rob. Keep it going.
Okay, thank you, guys.
There you go. And he's the best, Rob Blackman. Man, we are so lucky and we've said this a million times before, between him and Don, to have the play-by-play guys at the Big Ten schools that we have here in the state is unbelievable.
Excellent. And I mean, take it a step further, whether you want to go Mark Janes, Mark Boyle, Greg Rakestraw.
Mark Minner at Butler, I think, does a great job.
Yeah, and I'm forgetting people here. Pat Boylan, I mean, just excellent, certainly. Chris Teneri. Speaking of Chris, Queens had a guy by the name of Chris Ashby. When they won their conference championship game to send them to the big dance, this dude shot the ball 19 times in their conference tournament championship game. All 19 attempts were from behind the arc, and he made 10 of them. 10 of 19 from behind the arc.
What did Rob say? If it's working, keep doing it.
43 minutes, 10 of 19 from 3 for Chris Ashby in that game. He had 34 points. Did get the foul line a few times. So, yeah, very balanced, as Rob said, and not afraid to shoot from behind the arc.
Those are JMV 3-point numbers right there, James.
Not when I'm guarding them. Oh, no. You're not even getting off 19 looks. But if you leave them open, you're dead. Or as he likes to say, he's short, and that's usually when it's swishing.
I have a feeling C.J. Cox will be chasing Chris Ashby around quite a bit Friday.
Man, get those Normatec boots out and get those legs ready.
Something. All right, Mark, let's check it down.
The Morning Checkdown on 93.5 and 107.5 The Fan.
Man, just psychotic weather outside. Goes from being a blizzard to sunny to a blizzard to sunny to blizzard, and it's sunny again right now.
I'll take it.
All right, but it's sunny right now for Purdue after a little bit of a blizzard at the end of their regular season. They earn a number 2 seed after running the table in the Big Ten tournament. They beat Michigan yesterday in the final, 80-72. You heard Rob Blackman talking about it a minute ago. Great game for Oscar Clough. Great game for Trey Kaufman Ren. Great game for Braden Smith. He's the tournament MVP. Needs just 2 more assists to pass Bobby Hurley on the all-time NCAA assist record list. But going back to Trey Kaufman Ren, man, is he tough to stop in that 2-man game with he and Braden Smith. And he talked about the emotions and the feelings of that tournament win afterwards.
Honestly, it's just, great being able to come out and give me those pocket passes, just me getting to my spots. It's all these guys. It's PJ having confidence in me to make those shots and send me.
I think what was impressive, though, about that 2-man game with Trey Kaufman Ren is he was getting buckets inside. That's a big, strong, formidable front line that Michigan has. You're not just going against anybody there, Kevin.
Right, and they had struggled so mightily in the first matchup, I thought, finishing through that length. Trey Kaufman Ren and Oscar Clough, and they were great. Yesterday, again, I thought Fletcher Lawyer shot it beautifully throughout the tournament. And that's, something Rob mentioned there. Purdue just won the Big Ten tournament. They led for 152 or 153 of 160 minutes, and they didn't even shoot it that well as a team, particularly Braden Smith. So, is there another level they could get to? I know it sounds a little crazy, but you could say that, really. So, quite impressive and well-deserved there for another Big Ten tournament title.
They'll be in St. Louis Friday night, 7:35 tip time. They'll go up against Queens, the number 15 seed out of Charlotte, North Carolina. Kevin was talking about them a moment ago. And, James, we mentioned it earlier today, but the Boilers now a top 4 seed in their last 9 NCAA tournament appearances. Look, they get a national title, whether it's this year or the next couple of years. They are blue blood in the NCAA at this point, aren't they?
Yeah, the sustained success is admirable, and it's hard to win in March. And so them continuing to put themselves in position to do that at a high level is commendable.
All right, Indiana Pacers lose to the Milwaukee Bucks at home yesterday, 134-123. Great game for Aaron Nesmith while he played, scored 32, a career high. But then he and Ivica Zubac and T.J. McConnell didn't even play in the fourth quarter. Andrew Nembhard and Pascal Siakam didn't play at all. The Pacers now dropped to 15-53. They've lost 13 games in a row. I know that's what they're supposed to be doing, but it just still feels weird. I'll keep saying it just feels odd.
They almost won Friday with New York. That was actually pretty competitive there in the fourth quarter. But
and it's in New York. You got to be competitive.
Right, exactly, with who they play tomorrow. And just to reiterate, they can afford wins. And I say that plurally. They're in a position right now where, the odds are the same whether you're the first worst team, second worst team, or the third worst team. They all have the same odds at the top 4 pick and the first pick overall. So if you are a Pacer fan and you are sick and tired of watching the loss aspect to it, you can afford to cheer for a win or two, and your team still should be just fine.
Does Rick Carlisle, if everybody's healthy, put them to the available players that are healthy in the last, say, April, the last 4 or 5 games? Does he just put them together to see how they all play together at some point in time?
Yeah, I would assume. I mean, it seems like they're trying to do that right now. Siakam is dealing with a knee sprain, but yeah, I mean, Zubac's played what, all 3? I mean, Zubac's played in a back-to-back.
I was surprised by that.
I was not thinking that was going to happen late last week. So again, they'll go back-to-back Tuesday, Wednesday. So we'll see about Siakam and Zubac and company.
All right, high school basketball getting closer and closer. Semi-state coming up on Saturday. Any big surprises for you this past weekend?
Not necessarily for me. I picked Mount Vernon to knock off Pike. I saw them play earlier this year, and it was another great game, overtime for both of those. So they survived, they advance. They'll face Decatur Central over at Newcastle. And then I guess maybe a little surprised that Carmel didn't get through over Fort Wayne Snyder. I know that they were still the favorite even without Cash Daniels, but shout out to Snyder for getting it done.
All right, women's college basketball, number 1 seeds in the NCAA tournament will be UConn, South Carolina, UCLA, and Texas. And Kevin, a number 6 seed interest you at all?
Yeah, they had a great end to the season there for the Irish. So, yeah, there'll be a 6 seed Fairfield. So they'll be opposite in round 1, Ohio State, if they win. We mentioned some local connections. Thank you to Preston for pointing this out earlier. Ashlyn Shade, former Noblesville player, ended her prep career at La Lumiere. She is still a key player for the UConn women's team, and per usual, they are a 1 seed there.
All right, pointed it out about 30 minutes ago, but for the 7th year in a row, the Marion women's basketball team onto the NAIA National Tournament round of 16. They get there with a 70-47 win on Saturday night against Columbia College in the NAIA's second round. They are 31-2 overall. They've won 14 games in a row, so go Marion Knights. Also for women's basketball, Team USA, a winner over New Zealand, 101-46 yesterday. Caitlin Clark got the start, her first start of the World Cup tournament there. 14 points, 6 assists. It's a qualifying tournament. They've already qualified through previous play, but she doesn't look like she's lost a beat now that she's healthy. She's doing her thing, man.
Yeah, glad to see her back out there, and we know how much she missed the game, and certainly the game missed her.
A World Baseball Classic. United States beat the Dominican Republic 2-1 in a great game last night. They'll now play the winner of Italy-Venezuela who clash tonight, and then tomorrow night they'll play for the whole ball of wax. Somehow, someway, they survived the Chicago Cubs manager along the way, Mark Dykton.
He's not the Cubs manager at all. He played for the Cubs.
I'm just giving you a bad.
Craig Counsell's the manager.
And has been for a couple of years. Just, are you paying attention back there?
I'm paying attention.
All right, there we go. Also, anything else you guys want to throw in before we head for the weekend?
Did you mention Kyle Kirkwood?
At the end, yeah, I mentioned him a couple times this morning, but we'll do it now. Won IndyCar yesterday down at Arlington. Just going to show that Alex Plough's not going to run away from everything, because Kyle Kirkwood didn't have the easiest run yesterday. A couple of late pit stops that didn't go his way, but he found a way to get it done.
Yeah, great day for Andretti in general. Will Power after a very, very poor start.
I love his name. That's a great driving name, racing name.
3 in the top 4 there for Andretti Racing with Marcus Ericsson, who had qualified on the pole there. Alex Plough finishing second. So, again, busy start to the year for IndyCar. They'll round it out this month in Barber.
Now that Mark's awake, too, you do look good in that Hammond Bears jersey there.
Well, considering what the weather looked like, I wasn't sure what the hell I was signing up for this morning with the weather.
Looks great out there right now.
Now it looks like I'm going to be peeling off layers, but I don't know.
I don't know about that, but yeah.
All right, coming up in a minute, we'll talk more about the who's who of free agent acquisitions for the Indianapolis Colts and where they go next as we continue on 93.5 and 107.5 The Fan.
Damon Bailey, of course, headed for Indiana University. He got it inside, and the foul is called, and maybe on Bailey. And that's the third on Damon. Very little change of expression there on Damon's face. In Damon Bailey's high school career at Bedford North Lawrence High School, he has won 98 games and lost only 11. 4-point lead, Concord. Bailey, yes, and a foul called on Concord. Damon Bailey now has 23 points. Bailey has just become the 5th leading single-season scorer in Indiana high school basketball history with 971 points. Looking for 972. Rebounded by Concord again. This is Micah Sharp. Rebounded by Concord again. Here's the shot off the mark, and the ball game is over. And Bedford North Lawrence has won the state championship.
Well, one of the most iconic scenes in our state's history with the IHSA basketball tournament there inside of the Dome in 1990. It was indeed Damon Bailey and the Stars at Bedford North Lawrence. Had to love to hear the Boo Birds at a Damon Bailey foul call there in the background. I think the whole town of Bedford and probably the whole 812 was up there for that one in 1990. And we are now to the semi-state round. Just a reminder, again, we've got 2 games at the semi-state, or you got to win 2, I should say. 10 a.m. and noon coming up this weekend on Saturday all around the state. Tips and locations at ihsaa.org, and then you win the morning game. You'll play at night to come to Gamebridge Fieldhouse coming up a week from Saturday, and we have had quite a few upsets. Just a couple things to note as well. Of our number one teams in the coaches polls, 3 of the 4 are out. Silver Creek and 3A is the only number 1 ranked team in their respective class still left. And again, as you mentioned earlier, John Ashworth had a great note over the weekend. No MIC team, no Hoosier Crossroads Conference team left in the 4A race as we are down to 8 teams. So pretty unique that we've gotten to this point, and you get some new blood here in the IHSAA state tournament. So again, tip times, locations, ihsa.org. Nothing beats attending an IHSAA tournament game in person.
You're listening to the Fan Morning Show on Sports Radio 93.5 and 107.5 The Fan.
There you go. We will probably have an NCAA tournament record broken early in Purdue's game Friday night in St. Louis against Queens. We've been talking about it this morning, but just think about this. Short, skinny kid from Westfield, Indiana, plays all 4 years at Purdue, and he will walk away regardless of whether Purdue goes deep into this tournament, wins the whole thing, whatever. But barring unforeseen circumstance, Kevin, Braden Smith will walk away as the NCAA's all-time leader in assists. That is insane, great basketball.
He's one of the greatest college basketball players ever to play in the state, period. And obviously one of the best players ever in the Big Ten. I mean, go on with this. And, last week after that Northwestern game when he had 16 assists and 1 turnover, I tried to compare him to Jack Everly of the Symphony Orchestra here in town. I mean, he's the maestro of it all. He's the quarterback of it all. And even in a 4-game stretch where he didn't have the shooting prowess that he typically has, he still impacts the game at an extraordinarily high level. I love the moment Friday night against Nebraska. Nebraska's kind of making a little run here. I think it was either the under 12 or under 8, one of those media timeouts. And they came back from break and they showed a very demonstrative Braden Smith in the huddle, kind of imploring his team to dig in. And that lead was starting to, it wasn't getting real close, but it was starting to. And that's the type of leadership that I think you love to see from him.
It's going to be something to watch on Friday night as the tournament starts. You'd think they'd be okay against Queens, and then you look throughout the rest of that bracket, and if you talk about if seeds go according to plan, they would play Miami next, who's the 7-10 against Missouri, and then number 3 seed Gonzaga might await them. But Gonzaga and BYU, that could be an unbelievable matchup, James Boyd. AJ DeBonta against Gonzaga. Yeah, I don't know who's going to come out of that right there.
You know who I've been thinking about a lot, though, aside from the players on the court, and AJ is someone I'm going to watch heavily just because he could be a pacer. here in a few months. Greg Gumbel, I know it's been over a year, but man, I was thinking about him a lot because this is like his forte. And then, being the sports media nerd that I am, it's like when you have a guy who can make these big moments feel so, what's the word, homey and like personal to you. I love that about what he brought to the sport. So shout out to him and his family, man. It's a little different. Obviously, we can't have all the greats stay around forever, but he was certainly one of them.
All right, so that's an NCAA tournament. Quick look ahead. We'll be talking about it all week long here at 93.5, 107.5 The Fan. Talk about the Colts again. They did fortify themselves, I suppose, at the safety position. They re-signed Mo Alley-Cox. Anything to write home about, get excited about, or is the biggest piece of news is that Simone Biles' husband, Jonathan Owens, is coming to town?
Probably the biggest news as far as the blogs go and the way TMZ works is probably that Simone Biles will be in Lucas Oil Stadium at some point. But yeah, no big signings of note. I would say if you're trying to just rank them, the most newsworthy one to me is probably the Wanye Thomas signing because he could be your starting safety this upcoming season, replacing Nick Cross. But yeah, no headliners and still some big holes to fill when it comes to linebacker and even more so when it comes to defensive end.
Were they're still pretty thin at linebacker. Any chance that Waller could come back off injury and play at linebacker? Is he big enough to play linebacker?
Yeah, I think every down it might be a little bit of a wish. Again, this guy hasn't played an NFL snap, so I think it's premature to pencil him into anything of a starting position. Can you have some intrigue, and are you hopeful? Of course. And he obviously had a nice rookie offseason there, but that remains to be seen. I wasn't too surprised to see both the tight end moves. You mentioned Mo Alley-Cox. Drew Ogletree also will be back, so they should have their same tight end depth chart from last season. Tyler Warren, Mo Alley-Cox is a great blocker, so I think that's kind of the role that he fits. And then Ogletree, I think in a way, is kind of a poor man's Mo Alley-Cox. They also like him on special teams. They did re-sign Laquan Treadwell, former first-round pick. Kind of been a practice squad guy here with the Colts. Special teamer when called up. I don't necessarily look for him to take on any sort of Michael Pittman Jr. role or anything like that, but that is just something to keep an eye on. By the way, did you see where Pittman was when the trade was announced?
Yeah, I believe he was in Uganda, or he was overseas with his brother on like a hunting trip.
He was in Uganda on a 2-week safari fishing hunting trip, yes, with his brother. Said that the Wi-Fi only really worked like in the corner of some room, and so he's on like 3G Wi-Fi. Kind of got wind, I guess, a couple hours before the trade. This is something that could happen here. But yeah, his brother booked it, I guess, a couple years ago, thinking, "Oh, you're under contract, you'll be good. Start a free agency. There's nothing to worry about." Here's Michael Pittman Jr. He had to stop the trip short. Said he owed it to the Steelers to come home and see his new team a little bit earlier.
That's a hell of a journey for that carrier pigeon to deliver that message.
Unbelievable. And then his flight path home was wild. He was listing off where he flew through. I mean,
it was like 4 flights or something like that to get to
Michael
Pittsburgh.
Pittman Jr. is a unique cat, man.
I like him. I'm going to miss him.
Still looking out and trying to get some people to
Someone
look over his acres.
Manage the Boone County acreage, right?
Yeah. But you're right. He is, to Jeff's point, he has a lot of different interests. I mean, again, I go back to, I joke with DeForest Buckner about this. I think DeForest Buckner is one of God's favorites. Born in Hawaii, great football player, handsome, beautiful family, all these things. Pittman's kind of that same ilk. Like, you're a professional football player. You also fly planes. You also own a farm. Beautiful family. Like, well, I mean, what's left to accomplish? And so, shout out to him. One of those guys who you could always depend on to talk real about the team, win, lose, or draw. Literally win, lose, or draw, because my first game I covered for the Colts was a draw. So he's someone I'm going to miss from a media coverage standpoint, to Jeff's point. But also, he got a nice little bag to go over there for Pittsburgh as well. 3 years, $59 million, $24 million in guarantees.
Hawaii's in the tournament. Yeah. Hawaii's a 13 seed.
They are.
They're in the tournament. And they get Portland, or that's their region. So from a travel standpoint, that worked out pretty well for the is it the Rainbow Warriors or just the Rainbows?
The Rainbow Warriors.
I'll be honest with you. Before last week, I had never heard of Queens, and I had never heard of I didn't know California Baptist was a Division I school.
That's a new one for me.
That's because none of y'all go to church.
So they popped it up last night.
It's not true.
You know? Shout out, me and God locked in, so I know about that school.
Okay. I don't always go to church, but I do go.
All I'm saying is if you could have been there. California Baptist. Get saved.
What's the lowest seed you guys have going the farthest on your bracket so far?
Oh, good question. It might be where I got to find my Arkansas this year, Kevin. Where's my former great coach at a school that's probably not like a blue blood, but pretty much is because of NIL? Let's see.
They were our lone Cinderella last year, John Calipari and the Arkansas Razorbacks here. Mark, the ones and the twos are so good. Like
I know.
1-3 seed I don't trust at all, and it's probably because Notre Dame should have beat them, is Virginia.
Mm-hmm.
Like Virginia's there as a 3, and ironically they play Wright State, the Horizon League champ, with of course a lot of Indiana flavor in that one.
I thought Wisconsin would win the Big Ten tournament once I saw them play at the end of the season and the beginning of the tournament.
Well, they were shot away from
I
playing
know
Purdue.
that's a team that to me I would not want to have them on my draw.
I could see Iowa maybe making it to a Sweet 16.
How do you feel about Tennessee?
Gosh, I don't think Iowa's that good.
I know, but I'm looking at the rest of who would they get matched up against, and it's like they don't have like a horrible path. I think Vanderbilt will probably get them in the second round if they're able to get past Clemson. But I mean, you're asking me again. The question mark through out there was like
Iowa would get Florida. That's 8-9 playing the one.
I'm sorry. Yeah. You're right.
And Florida. It's so funny. I mean, the defending national champ, and I get they didn't bring back everybody, but like here they are, ho hum, 1 seed.
Yeah, I looked at my bracket wrong. I thought Iowa would be playing Vanderbilt. I take that back. I want to put that out there and say that was not the right statement.
Now, walk me through this. Florida's the 1 in the South region. That region is where?
I'm not sure. Hold up.
Houston. The 2 seed is who?
Houston.
What?
Mm-hmm.
You're saying that's not fair?
I mean, if I'm Florida, I'm like, what the hell? Can you not put Houston in another region?
Fair enough. Should I pick VCU to advance just because VCU seems like a team that always advances?
No, you'd make Mo Alley Cox happy.
Yeah. I'm trying to think of like what
the
program.
Ghost of Shaka
I
Smart.
feel like Wichita State used to always, make a run in the tournament.
Mm-hmm.
Mark, I've got Akron in the Sweet 16. I watched Akron play against Purdue earlier this year, and I actually thought they were pretty legit. And, we talked about this with the MAC a little bit.
Akron knocking off Texas Tech. Well, we got to get some upsets in here.
Again, Texas Tech's got JT Toppin out, unfortunately, tore his ACL. One of the best players in college basketball. He's out. And, again, an Akron team that's 29-5 and try to challenge themselves from a non-conference standpoint there. Alabama's been super Jekyll and Hyde all year long. So, Mark, that's what I'll pencil in. That 12 seed, the Zips. Is that John Gross?
That is John Gross, former Illinois coach. I remember he got fired and did a press conference after he got fired.
I have Akron in my
Classy.
Sweet 16 also, Kevin. So we're on the same path there. I have Miami, Ohio. I'm assuming Miami, Ohio is going to beat SMU, and I have them beating Virginia.
Mark, they're a 7.5-point underdog.
I know.
Miami of Ohio against SMU. I mean, won't the whole city of Oxford be in Dayton, Ohio on Wednesday night for that game?
I
know. Might fill up one section, but yes, they'll be there.
Wow.
Well, I don't know what the population is, but we're not talking about.
Have you seen their crowds? Their crowds have been tremendous this year, Mark.
I'm going to go with UMBC.
I mean, from a population.
Are they in it?
Yeah, they're in the first
time
four.
for a while.
They're in the first four, baby.
Taking on Howard.
I'm rocking with UMBC. I've seen it before. I'll see it again.
Gosh, I'll never forget. I watched that.
What are they, the Labradors?
I don't even know.
The Retrievers.
Retrievers.
I watched that at the Lockerbie Pub. R.I.P. to the Lockerbie Pub. I'll never forget that. Gosh, that was wild.
Is that after playing golf?
Was that for what?
After playing golf, you go to the Lockerbie Club?
Oh, Lockerbie Pub.
I know, pub.
Oh, got it.
All right, coming up in a moment, we'll put a big old bow on this show, talk about what's ahead for college basketball this week and a couple of other things you may not have known. It's next on 93.5 and 107.5 The Fan.
You're listening to the Fan Morning Show on Sports Radio 93.5 and 107.5 The Fan.
I was looking through the brackets over the break there, Kevin. You want to talk about a brutal draw. Louisville, they are sitting there in the East, right? And if they had to play every top seed along the way that, as you advance, they first have to get by South Florida, who, by the way, has won 25 games this year. They win that one, they probably have to play Michigan State. They win that one, they probably got to play UConn. They win that one, they got to play Duke. They win that one, then they get Florida or Houston. And then moving on from there, they probably have to play, Arizona. That is a brutal path to a national championship.
Well, I guess that's what happens when you're a 6 seed, right?
Yeah.
That's part of, not getting one of the higher seeds. Yeah, that East region in general, Dan Hurley, Rick Pitino, Bill. You get Pitino and Self in round 2. Izzo, there's the 3 seed. By the way, I thought it was cool that, I don't know if you guys saw the Mick Cronin stopping Fletcher Lawyer and Braden Smith in the handshake line. I feel like you don't typically see that from the losing head coach. When the winning head coach is shaking hands, oh man, he might hug every player on the losing team. But the losing head coach, if you didn't see it, Mick Cronin, we seemingly only watch the viral videos and press conferences, but he stopped Fletcher Lawyer and Braden Smith after they lost to them on Saturday. Really had a long combo with both of them. And I wouldn't assume he recruited really either of them, but I thought that was just kind of a cool moment to show his appreciation for the careers that they've had. So shout out to Mick Cronin.
Don't fall for the try to get good PR spin. Could there be some changes at UCLA? Is this a last-ditch effort to say, hey, at least I was a good sport on the way out? Because, man, dude ruffled feathers all season long.
I think most coaches you would see say, oh, you got eligibility left? Now I'm going to talk to you in line. Fletcher Lawyer and Braden Smith ain't got any eligibility left. Dusty May's the one that tried to come after Braden Smith, right?
You always have eligibility. Just sue. Braden, if you want to come back, brother, just sue the NCAA. Get an injunction put in place.
Is that rumor true that Dusty May tried to give a couple million to Braden?
I don't know. Is that rumor true is quite the question. I'm not sure. Let's call Dusty up. I have his number.
Kind of a quick handshake yesterday.
Give him a ring.
Kind of a quick handshake there post-game.
Yeah, it was.
Between Matt Painter.
Crypto Jedi texting in. Jeff, Louisville's done in round 1. Come on. Well, I said we can hope. Can only hope.
I will say this on a more serious note. Speaking of Louisville, I saw this from over the weekend, and prayers to our family. Maya Epps, the senior at Homestead, very good player, going off to Louisville to continue her basketball career, got into a severe car accident a few days ago. So there is a GoFundMe out there. So if you just literally go to IndyStar.com and search Maya Epps, there is a GoFundMe there for her. It sounds like she's going to have a long road to recovery, so I'm praying for her and her family. And you all know how much I love high school sports. I can't say that I saw her play in person, but I've heard of her. And though she's a great player, and even if she wasn't, I just know it's a hard time for her family. So hoping the best there. And just to give you all a glimpse of the support, it looks like here the top donation is from Jalen Suggs, NBA player.
Wow, yeah.
So shout out to him for getting in on the action and trying to get her back to full recovery.
We send out all of our prayers. That's a tough situation right there. It's the Fan Morning Show, 93.5, 107.5. The Fan. Indiana Pacers will play again tomorrow. They'll play at New York. It's a 7:30 tip time, so airtime 7 o'clock here on the Fan. But this next stretch, guys, I don't think their record's going to improve a ton. At the Knicks, they come home to play Portland, who's been playing better. Then they run around again and go for a couple of games on the road at San Antonio, at Orlando, then home again for the Lakers, Clippers, in Miami. Playing at full steam, that's not an easy schedule for the next 5-6 games, James Boyd.
No, not at all.
So we'll see what that does. They are 15-53 right now.
You guys brought up the Oscars a little earlier in a local angle. Listener Luke goes, big shout out to Chase Infinity.
Oh, yeah.
From North Central, who starred in the Best Picture winner, One Battle After Another. Paul Thomas Anderson called her the All-American Girl when giving acceptance. Since you were doing the Oscar talk, wanted to throw that local tie-in there. So thank you, Luke, for that.
Yeah, shout out to Luke for mentioning that and reminding us. But I always feel like when I read those things, I'm like, man, I didn't do enough when I was in high school or whatever. Like, could you imagine that one of your high school classmates, oh, yeah, I went to North Central with a girl who was in, or a woman who was in an Oscar-winning movie. Meanwhile, I'm trying to figure out what I'm eating for dinner, and hopefully it's not Dino Nuggets again. Like, come on now.
And Ashley went to high school with a guy, and he was like starring in like Walking Dead episodes, and he's in like movies and stuff like that. I'm like, good Lord. My theater did not have this deep of roster.
I want to say at one point Anakin went to Carmel High School. I could be wrong on that. Kind of around my age.
Well, here's one for you. His name is Ahmad Ferguson. He played basketball at Hammond Morton up in the region, and I covered him. And now he's an actor, like full blown. He's been in a lot of the 50 Cent shows, so like Power and I want to say BMF and others, and like he's a full blown star. He was in what's the show? I'm blanking on it right now, but there it is. I'm blanking on the name. But anyways, he is a big time actor, and it's funny to see him doing that now.
Shout out to the Midwest Academy's performance
Shameless,
over the
name.
weekend. There you go. Of Wizard of Oz. It was fun. Jake, a flying monkey, relished being able to be the guy that tore apart the scarecrow.
All right.
Limb from limb. Enjoyed that. Happy birthday, Jake. It's your 18th. Enjoy it. Have a great day. We'll see you in a little bit. Everybody else, join Jake at noon.